do this. Hey, everybody. We're back. We're back. We're better than ever. We're here to talking about one of the newest Marvel films. This is the Infinity Warmup podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jay, Brill from Brillvision. Trey, say hi.
Last time I saw you, you were trying to kill everybody. Where are you at these days?
Who, me? Trying to kill everybody. Oh, I was kind of angry on that. Yeah.
It's a lot. We should say spoilers right up front because we haven't done it for the last few episodes. But yeah, we spoil everything. Sorry in advance. Sorry for all the previous podcasts you've listened to. But no, right up front, we will tell you that Surtur just completely destroys Asgard. See? 30 seconds in.
Damn, big drop.
That's
Holy
the entire third act of the movie.
Wrap it up. This is the Infinity Warmup podcast. Oh man, I just want to start by saying yes, we do have to give some spoiler alerts because this movie's pretty new. I don't think it came out this year. I think it came out the end of 2017, right?
Yeah.
Because February was when Black Panther came out. There's no way this movie came out in January. So this came out just a few months ago. It just launched on Blu-ray. I myself spent like $6, $6 hard-earned dollars.
Proud of you.
Renting the Blu-ray version of this damn movie when I could have just borrowed it from one of my neighbors at work.
Yeah, we got it off an app of some kind. You know how technology works. They just give you everything for a nominal fee.
Tell me, Trey, how many times have you seen this movie?
Jesus, like 3 or 4 times now, which is a lot. Like I when I was a kid, I binged The Lion King like every other day, and I don't think I've made it to the 10s for any movie. So watching a movie 4 times is means I like it. I definitely didn't do the same for Ant-Man.
Well, yeah. Plus, it's like it says a lot too because this is a new movie and you've seen it that many times. You know, like Iron Man 1 came out a decade ago, and I don't think it might be neck and neck at this point compared this movie to that movie. I saw this movie about 3 times in theaters. I think I watched it twice on Blu-ray, so 5.
Hey-o.
And that's like twice as many times as I've seen Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yeah, right. And you got 10 years for that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah. This is I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that we both really enjoyed this movie. I think it's good.
It's tough at this point, you know. It's like if you're DC, because Phase 3 in the MCU, they're fucking killing it. And I mean, I want to say there's no taking them down. However, later this year we do have an Ant-Man Wasp movie.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, I feel like they could absorb any kind of misstep, you know? Like, we already saw that Iron Fist didn't hurt them or derail them in any way. Inhumans should have broken them, but that was released. I think it's on Hulu, but literally nobody talks about it, and for the most part, Marvel doesn't care about it. I don't plan on watching it, even though Black Bolt is one of my favorite characters, and it's kind of a shame that he'll never be relevant.
Yeah, I think I watched the first episode of that was tough to watch. It is cool how they got Medusa's hair to work, right?
Apparently she's bald for the duration of the entire series.
I don't think it matters, it's all CG. I mean, like, I thought like clearly it'd be hard to show Black Bolt on screen, but like just his powers and whatnot. Otherwise, he just has to stand there and look stoic and just think to his to his girlfriend so she can understand him. But I mean, just showing her, doesn't her hair move like an ocean, like the water, right? It's just constantly like.
Well, she controls it. Yeah, that's her. It's a weapon.
Well, I'm saying I know that from the comics, but to bring this to life, was it kind of cool for you to see that? At least a little interesting.
From the trailer, I mean, it looked bad. It looks like they didn't want to spend money on anything.
I know the dog looks weird. That's completely CG. Yeah, I don't know.
We're kind of talking out of turn, but I feel like I should give it a chance. I feel like they wanted it to be important because the cosmic side of Marvel really was leaning heavily on Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were hoping to have Inhumans sort of bridge the gap. But now they have Thor for it, so everything seems to be coming together.
Hopefully soon enough.
As far as cosmic Marvel goes.
Hopefully we'll see the Silver Surfer
Contracts, man. Contracts.
Hey man, okay, but I said hopefully, and I mean in the near future, because we did go over this before. How Fox, what sold their
Yeah,
movie rights, right?
things are slowly coming together for Marvel. All the properties are coming home. Disney is growing larger in size, getting ready to engulf the planet like Ego.
It's going to be
pretty
beautiful,
insane.
and
Yeah,
if they already had the
death.
well, if they already had the rights, if I'm not mistaken, if we go back, so we're going over. Did we even talk about it? Thor Ragnarok. And Thor Ragnarok, a lot of this movie takes place on planet Sakaar, which in the comic book universe is known as Planet Hulk, or it's actually Sakaar, but the comic book. But wasn't that fight that Hulk had? Wasn't that against the Silver Surfer?
Yeah, Silver Surfer was in Planet Hulk. So I'm gonna say something that you're not gonna like. I never read Planet Hulk. I read World War Hulk.
How dare you! How do you
It's
not
the
read
one
the
after.
intro? I know it wasn't as interesting, but it set up everything. Like when you started reading it as he started like killing the different comic heroes.
I was collecting pretty much all of the. I didn't. Hulk has never been on my pull list. He was for a little bit after the events of World War Hulk, but a lot of see, this is why Joe Quesada is a goddamn monster and gets all my money. He's Marvel's editor in chief. But I was collecting all of the comic books, or pretty much all of the comic books outside of the events of Hulk. And when he came back to Earth after the events on Sakaar and World War and Planet Hulk, then it tied in pretty much everything I collected into X-Men, into the Avengers. Captain America, I think, had like maybe one or two issues. They were wrapping up a plot with the Sentry, so he was involved in it. So yeah. I just kind of picked up on what the Hulk was doing through all of the tie-in comics, and then I picked up I think it was 8 issues for World War Hulk. But yeah, I never read Planet Hulk. I read the synopsis, or rather, and they covered why he's a gladiatorial badass wreaking havoc on Earth.
Well, okay. Applying what they did. Okay, so you remember the part from the comic books where Hulk became stronger, right? Like he's like the Hulk from World War Hulk is not just more devious and willing to kill.
Yeah, he's smart. Yeah,
but he's also like way stronger, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know. I wonder if they're gonna.
Rage.
Yeah, well, because it's years of just battling without anyone telling him stop breaking everything, Hulk. And I assume this other planet has multiple times the amount of Earth gravity, so that had something to do with it. A little Vegeta situation.
Yeah, about to say, is this like Super Saiyan where he's training and?
Well, my friend. If you go back to the comic book world, the whole reason that I think Thor got captured in this movie and in the comic book Hulk got captured was because the transformation through those dimensions weakened him severely. Otherwise, he would never have been caught in the first place. Because it's motherfucking Hulk. You're not about to shoot him with this. Like, he had to adjust. Maybe it's not just the planet itself. It was the him, traveling dimensions or whatever to go to that planet. But he was severely weakened. And I believe the same thing happened.
If I recall correctly, the Illuminati blasted him into space or something, or rather, the kind of like in the event of Age of Ultron, he was in a rocket that was off trajectory, and the Illuminati had a chance to bring him back to Earth, and they said, let's just keep Hulk off the world forever. And it came back and bit them in the ass, each one individually.
Okay, so now it's my time to shine. Let's dive into my memory, which is very poor to say at the least. However, I did read Planet Hulk, and therefore I read what happened right before he got there. So what happened? This guy's brain. Nick Fury convinced Hulk that he needed his help to do some space expedition that basically Hulk was the only one who could survive this, or they needed someone with his strength or whatever. So he shipped him out just outside Earth's orbit, and he had to go break into some other ship and destroy some shit. And he didn't know much about what was going on. But it's Hulk.
Yeah, it seems like stupid. A horrible person to recruit for a space mission.
We need you, Hulk. Everybody else is busy.
Wait, Banner or Hulk?
No, Hulk.
The Hulk
100%
specifically?
Hulk, yeah.
That seems entirely poorly thought out.
He wasn't smart then, right? It wasn't the Gray Hulk or whatever Hulk has the intelligence, or even the Hulk after World War Hulk. So he didn't know much about what was going on. But after trashing so much of, I guess he had, he noticed something they didn't expect him to see. He came across an icon or a label on the piece of machinery that he was up there to destroy, and it had S.H.I.E.L.D.'s imprint on it. And he was like, what the fuck? Wait, you sent me up here to destroy what's happening? And then it was just like, and while he was out there, the Illuminati got together, everyone but Charles Xavier, because he bitched out at the last moment.
No, Xavier was involved in it because he went after the X-Men. For sure he went after the X-Men.
And you don't remember. Check it out.
Okay, so what did Xavier do?
He in that comic book, so when he comes back and does the World War Hulk thing and he makes his way to the X-Men, he says, "Hey, Charles." He's like, I heard you were part of this Illuminati team.
What the fuck, Charles?
Yeah. I heard you were part of this Illuminati team to ship me into outer space. However, you weren't there when it happened. And he's just like, yeah, I wasn't there. And he's like, well, I just want to know, what are your thoughts? What do you think? And he's like, I think you're a menace to this planet. And I would have agreed that we needed to send you somewhere else where you can not destroy everything. And he goes, okay, that's what I thought. And then, like, Wolverine comes up to me, he's like, hey, man, just take it easy. Him and Colossus, he grabs Wolverine and chucks him across half the planet. And then he plays a game of mercy with Colossus.
Yeah.
Which doesn't end so well. He just... and his hands are all broken. And I think what he ended up doing was he took the metal off his skin and then he had to heal that way. And then this whole thing with Juggernaut. You remember that part where Juggernaut, it wasn't Juggernaut. He gave up the power. And then he was going through a phase. And he goes, I'll call the Juggernaut back. And he called it back, and he still wasn't a match for this Hulk, which normally he is. Normally, Juggernaut is pound for pound on par with Hulk.
Do they go toe-to-toe with each other?
Oh, he beat the snot out of Juggernaut. It wasn't even close. Now, that wasn't the colossal Juggernaut.
No.
Could be a different story, Planet Hulk versus that character. But Marvel tends to do this in the comics. I don't know if I know we're veering off a little bit, still talking about relevant information, but do you remember when Red Hulk first came out?
Yeah, Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, do you remember how overpowered he was?
It was a little ridiculous. I was never really a fan of the Hulk series, and I picked up probably the next 2 volumes or so after World War Hulk finished up, just to see how the story tied together. Scar, the Hulk's son, came into the picture, but after a while, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember now why I don't like this series, and I dropped it shortly after. But yeah, what was the Red Hulk's deal?
Oh, I don't.
He was just really smart, right? Well, in addition to being stupid strong like the Hulk.
Well, he didn't have that thing that Hulk has where he keeps getting stronger, but he just starts off stronger than Hulk. And it's like, and then the fact that he has this ability to absorb like the radiation from Hulk, he's literally anti-Hulk. Like, he would just grab Hulk and he'd be Banner. He was like, all right, I'm Red Hulk and you're Banner. And that's how he would win those fights. But they nerfed him eventually. They were like, well, okay, he's a little bit overpowered. So he does this thing where he gets really hot and fire starts coming out, and then he just gasses out.
And we talked about this a little bit while we were going over the second film in this, the what was it just called, the Hulk?
Incredible
Hulk. Incredible Hulk. Yeah, when we were talking about the Incredible Hulk, just how sort of one-dimensional the character is. In fact, this movie does a great job fleshing him out and making him a more well-rounded character. But yeah, the comic books play different angles on it, but ultimately, like, you end up having to do some weird stuff to make the Hulk interesting and relevant. And I kind of just don't like the revolving cast around the Hulk. Not his like human sidekicks and Rick Ross, but like there's like always a Red Hulk, a Red She-Hulk, the Abomination. They're all just different versions of the Hulk, and it's tedious.
It's classic superhero syndrome. You're all super strong, and that's your power.
The Hulk, and maybe Spider-Man, does have like a ridiculous amount of clones running around, but I feel like really the Hulk is the only one that has to just constantly have people who are exactly like him around him to bolster up his story. It's strange. The top of the show, you and I have seen something in common. A Quiet Place, a new film out in theaters.
Is it directed by John Krasinski, or did he wrote it, right?
No, it's directed by Jim Halpert as well. Yeah, I didn't know that until after the theater showing. First of all, how was your theater experience of it? Was the atmosphere conducive to enjoying it?
You have to watch this movie in theaters, because any other movie, I don't know about you, but I typically think you'd have your girlfriend with you. She'd be like, I can't hear anything. You'd turn it up, and then someone get captured by killed by some monster. They'd be like, oh my God, turn it down. It's too loud. It's just like, look, all right, this is the point of the movie. No sound, and then all the sound. It's, in a way, it was that was a little cheesy on a. It was just so similar to most horror films these days, where it's just like silent, and there's some girl with long black hair who starts screaming in front of the camera, and it's like, I didn't expect it. Oh my God, this thriller.
This movie more so because of the way they played with sound. The spoiler alerts for A Quiet Place. In fact, turn this podcast off. Don't even listen to it until you've seen all the movies.
Yeah, go ahead and skip to. I won't know what minute to skip to, because there'll be some editing between here and there. But look, all right. We're not going to spoil too much. You know what the movie's about. You've seen the previews. Like, it's just, there's a little bit of story in between, I suppose.
Didn't really know that it was a straight up monster movie. I think I've only seen the preview for it.
Are you
like
joking?
Maybe once or twice? But I didn't know that it was like a post shit already went down type of movies. And normally I hate those because I want to know what happened, like how the government failed us. You know, like it wasn't enough time with the Cloverfield Lane movie, because while Cloverfield was fun, I wanted Cloverfield Lane to tell me, okay, now what? Like, where's the safe points? Same deal with Walking Dead. Like, certainly you can reach someone on your stupid radio machine. You see Jim Halpert like crossing off countries. Like, okay, Japan's radio silent, China's radio silent.
The Morse code, right?
Yeah. So like, I kind of wanted answers for that, but the movie definitely makes up for my own personal shortcomings in not having answers by having an incredibly fleshed out world of like getting to see their day-to-day process of dealing with all manner of bullshit and tomfoolery. How they go about their lives.
I don't know, man. I think as much as I was hating on Spider-Man in the last podcast, one of my favorite parts was the fact that they didn't go over 40 minutes of who, what, when, where, and all right, here's the rest of the movie. Like, they just kind of started off, all right, well, they're in this, I mean, post-apocalyptic, okay, but like the government failed us. Like, I don't know about that. Like, these aren't just zombies. Like, these things are scary as hell. Huge,
yeah.
And they're basically aliens, right? Like, from the movie.
Man, we're kind of spoiling things. So their weakness is sound, right? And
okay, hold on.
Hold on. Okay.
That should have been the first notion that to everyone in the theater, and John Krasinski, right?
Krasinski.
Yeah,
I just call him Jim Halpert.
Well, okay, because like at the end when they found out, like, oh well, so they knew they have super hearing, like beyond any normal, like even like beyond dog hearing, and it's just like, well, I know sounds that freak dogs out, like blowing a whistle that I can't hear and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I know if I have my TV too loud, my dog's gonna walk out of the room. Have we not seen the movie Daredevil? Like just like, sound hurts, bing, bang, bong.
Yeah, you're wondering why nobody figured it out yet. Yeah. So I guess they figured out that they were utilizing sound in a way that nothing before ever has to hunt its victims. But, to stumble across the solution like that seems like somebody in a suit somewhere in a bunker in the Pentagon should have been able to figure out, oh yeah, so let's just get some dog whistles in here and we'll be okay.
Well, yeah, because they knew they weren't just hiding out at first. They knew it was like any sound, like they're coming. Yeah. So it's just like, all right, well, I was making fun of Spider-Man in the last movie, saying, what is wrong with his eyes that he needs these to focus? Like his senses are so hyper aware, he needs help. This is the same exact thing. Literally, like, so they have hyper hearing. Like, all right, well, I mean, I know sounds that hurt my ear. I don't know what decibel, but I do know if you just turned up the volume, I'd be like, take it off. So unless they had super hearing and super eardrums to go along with the hearing, I feel like I don't remember how long they were out there. Long enough to get pregnant, I guess. Spoiler alert.
400 some odd 80 days. Yeah. And I appreciated everything that they did with the sound mixing and the sound editing, how they washed it all out for to get you into the perspective of the deaf girl, and just the eerie silence of the movie until, you know, something gets stepped on or it's coming. I mean, I thought the creature design, you could tell that. Well, I don't want to call it shitty, but I'm just CGI models are off-putting to me now, unless it's really, really clean. But
it's hard to make an alien-ish movie and not just be called a copycat.
True enough. I mean, maybe the answer is practical effects. Now, see, to get back into this Thor movie a little bit, well, one of the things I said about Game of Thrones, and the reason for not having dire wolves on Game of Thrones is because we understood, you know, what a dog is supposed to look like, its height relative to a human, and how putting a giant CGI dog next to a person would, you know, cross an uncanny valley, and we would be able to see that, oh, there's, you know, something wrong with this. You know, it looks off, it looks weird. But Fenris, Hela's dog,
the big old wolf,
yeah, that shit was just gangster. And granted, it only interacts with Hulk, and when it's not, it's just kind of lying there on the stairs. But yeah, no, I believe there was an 80-foot dog in the room. Like, that was beautiful. I was horrified. I was gonna say, like,
I don't know much about that character, but is this just like they just, I don't know. To me, it seems a little cheesy that they just zoomed in on a dog.
What do you mean?
They just, like, it's, I don't know. I guess it's similar to whatever they did in Lord of the Rings, where, like, you know, that character that's supposed to be really short and, like, dwarfy?
Gimli the dwarf?
Yeah, isn't he like 7 feet tall? Is his name Gimli? I've seen that movie. But from what I know, he's really, like, the tallest person on cast.
Oh,
and they just had to zoom out a bunch of times to get this guy super short. Because he was... Okay, so that was one of my gripes, I guess, because it seems a little too cheap to be like, oh, hey, well, he's got a big rat. I know it was a wolf, but why not? You could just use a rat or any kind of other animal.
Oh, no, he's part of the lore. In fact, that's Loki's son.
Who? Fenris?
Fenris, the dog, yeah.
That's funny, because Hela's his daughter.
Yeah, the parenting lineage is off on this for convenience sake.
Convenience, my ass. All we know about Loki is that he hates where he came from. This dude had the worst childhood ever. And his daughter's the goddess of death. It only makes sense. And they're just like, no, that's his stepsister. What? These two are clearly related.
Yeah, they look drastically alike. She's wearing the green of Loki from the first movie. Yeah. All right, so we should hop into it, but I think it's worth recapping the first two movies just to catch us up to speed with Thor Ragnarok.
The first Thor was what, mainly about him, like, he had to get over his own ego and kind of learn how to become
Fish out
king,
of water
right?
Story, yeah. God having to learn some fucking humility so that he can get his magical toy back and learn some, you know, respect. Second movie was Fish Out of Water in Reverse, where Natalie Portman goes to Asgard, and a lot of emo brooding with dark elves. I liked it more than most of the rest of the world, but that's mainly out of spite and my... Yeah, no, mostly spite.
I didn't like hate the movie overall. I just it's like, if you're throwing it in the mix of like what's your favorite MCU movie, that movie is way down there. It's
definitely on the weaker side.
I would, you know, it's if this were like one of like 3 movies that came out like 20 years ago, I'd be like, fucking loved it, bro. Shit got me through a lot of hard times when I wanted to see Thor on camera.
And unarguably, you could say that I don't even want to say that the approach to the first two Thor films did not work, because establishing the characters is incredibly self-serious and like taking the drama and spectacle of everything happening on Asgard and the drama with his brother Loki and this whole Shakespearean crisis that they have going on definitely paves the way for a radical reboot like this movie to infuse it with comedy and just kind of take the piss out of everything. It's something I think you can only do once. I mean, unless they blow my mind with Thor 4 and they double down on this attitude. But I think because of the lack of success of the first two, it was definitely okay to take it in a new direction. And obviously this direction fits perfectly.
Were they all three directed by different people?
All three of them were, yeah. So the first Thor movie was directed by Kenneth Branagh. Yeah. And he did Murder on the Orient Express. It's a pretty good movie. He's good at juggling a large cast of people, with Much Ado About Nothing. The second one, they wanted to take it in a different direction. They picked up Alan Taylor from Game of Thrones to make Asgard feel like a real place. I thought the costume design was on point and everything, but both of those movies failed to realize that Chris Hemsworth is comedy gold. And
is it him or is the character? Because Loki's funny not Loki, Thor. Like his character is funny. Like even in the cartoons. Well, typically in the cartoons, because he always carries that like what would you say his accent is? Is it literally just Viking?
Yeah, the Shakespearean Old English. Just. Even though is a big planet. Declarative statement with thous and thine and whatever weird ways to say the. But yeah.
But yeah. I mean, always that character that's not from here, that's got a huge ego. It's always kind of funny.
Yeah, and for me, what Thor Ragnarok does really well is it lets Thor be in on the joke. Like the previous two movies and even the Avengers, Thor was always the butt of the joke. He's like, in Avengers, Thor and the Hulk like dispatch a gang of Chitauri, and then Hulk punches them off to the side of the screen, and Thor didn't see that coming, or just all throughout his films, like, I need a horse, like, he doesn't get Earth customs, or he likes a sip of coffee, throws it on the ground, another, and he doesn't get it. But this movie, they let Thor be the driving narrative, like he has agency now. He understands the joke, and we get to laugh with him instead of at him.
Do you think it's because he's not on Earth at all?
I mean, yeah, that definitely helps, but I think there's ways to make him a competent person even while he is on Earth. Because you saw in this movie that he dealt with the planet Sakaar, a world that he's never been to, and he's, not a bumbling doofus like before. Before he was literally crippled and needed help from.
Interesting point. I'd have to agree with you. So do you remember how this movie starts off? He's in that dope ass scene in Surtur's lair, which, god damn it, this movie just starts off like the graphics on everything. I'm totally there. Like, I was like, oh man, this is what I've been dying to see. Thor is on a different planet somewhere, and they get to use complete computer graphics for everything, which I don't need to see. I don't know. I don't need to see Earth all the time, especially when this guy travels the cosmos all the time. And they mentioned this in a couple movies. What was it? Civil War? Do you know where Hulk and Thor are right now? If I misplace a couple of what does he say? 10 megaton nukes. 10,
yeah.
You
10
bet there be
a
whatever. You know what I'm.
Repercussions. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So. It's kind of like, as much as I want to see Silver Surfer, it's not the same thing, but this guy's traveling planet to planet. He's not just in one world that is Earth and one world that, I know that his Asgard isn't Earth, but I mean, it's essentially like it's Earth with just people in different costumes. Like, there's almost no difference, I'm saying. I know it looks kind of flat, but what else is going on in Asgard? Everyone speaks English. Everyone is human. There's one black guy. It's totally Earth.
It's a flat Earth populated by gods on a rainbow
you don't
bridge
know that this Earth
dangling
isn't
off
flat.
of
God
space.
dang it!
Don't you Kyrie Irving me? The Earth is round.
I know.
All right.
I believe
science prevail.
Either
also,
way,
don't give in that easy. There's so many flat Earthers now. It's hilarious.
But either way, so this movie starts off really strong. I like everything that's going on. Like the fire on the character Surtur is awesome. I even like the back and forth between him and Surtur. Like when he's like making fun of him, and he's just like, what does he say to Surtur? He's just making fun of his throne, or no, his crown. He goes, "Your crown looks really weird. It looks like something stupid." And he's just like, "It's a crown." And just that back and forth takes me back to the comics that I never read of Thor. But it takes me back to what I think the comics sound like. It's just like, it's the when the good guys get into, the one-on-one with the bad guy, the first thing they do is talk shit. Talk shit like how they're going to take him out, what's stupid about them, whatnot. And they get them to, kind of leave their guard down a little bit, and then they attack, which is kind of what Thor did. I'm a little, I don't know. I'm a little misunderstanding what's going on here because a couple things. Surtur looks like he's old and decrepit. He mentions the fact that he's like regenerating, and like it's like, I know with the Eternal Flame he's supposed to be big and huge, but I think he's supposed to be bigger than he is right now. So did something happen to him in the past where he lost a battle?
Well, I think you're meant to understand that a lot of the people off Asgard used to be citizens of Asgard or something akin to that. At least with Hela and Surtur, and maybe even Joffrey of the Frost Giant leader. Their power grows exponentially the closer in proximity they are to Asgard. It's the reason why when Hela arrives at Asgard, she's instantly more powerful. Same deal with Surtur. He grows as big as a mountain.
Well,
wrecks everything.
That's directly related to the Eternal Flame. She is biologically related to Odin and therefore just somehow draws her power from the people or the planet. I wasn't quite sure on that. It's the people?
Mostly the planet.
But that wouldn't make any sense, though, because it's just like, what did they build a planet that just gives energy to the king? And the lineage? That makes no sense. So it's like, now the planet's destroyed, even though Thor draws his energy from there too. Is he weak? Is it Superman? Is it, or isn't he weaker when he gets home? Yeah, he's a normal person at home, right?
Well, as Heimdall, Odin, and Thor would say, Asgard is not a place, it's a people.
Yeah, okay.
Unless you're trying to draw your power from there, then it's definitely a place that you need to go to.
Citizens, raise your hands and give me your power. Spirit bomb time.
Something. This movie definitely made me realize that it's possible to do a Superman movie.
Yeah.
And I guess what was that last Superman movie? That just solo Superman movie where he fights Zod. What was that called?
Was there a subtitle to it?
That one was okay, but I appreciate that Zod was of the same strength physically as Superman, but the largest problem with him is giving him anybody to fight against and have it be remotely fair and or entertaining. But yeah, the answer is to just introduce more powerful people than Superman, because that's what they did to Thor throughout this entire movie. Just gave him bigger and more unstoppable threats to deal with.
You and I were talking about this earlier. You're kind of saying it's like how Hulk's enemies are just Hulk or Hulks. Mm-hmm. That's not interesting at all. I mean, it was kind of cool to see this, this character. Oh, he's equal strength with Hulk. But I mean, at the same time, it's like when I watch those Justice League cartoon movies and it's like Flash's biggest villain is the Flash. I'm just like, well, he's just as fast. And I turn the TV. What am I watching for at this point? Like, this tactic, so I'm going to be faster.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I'm definitely the first to kind of argue that point, but it leads me back to wondering why this movie works so well, and I'm certain it's mostly just Taika Waititi flexing his writing skills. Actually, Taika Waititi famously says that 80% of the script is improvised, but two of the writers on this are what's his name, Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost. Do you want to guess which iconic X-Men books that they wrote?
Uncanny and
that could have been rhetorical because I was going to answer right away. They wrote volume one of
Who says
X-23.
it like that? Do you want, I guess?
They wrote volume one of X-23 and volume 3 of X-Force, the new X-Force with Archangel and Wolverine, X-23 and Warpath. They are absolutely great writers. They bounce characters off of each other super duper well. So while 80% of the script might have been, improvised, the writing for the rest of it was tight, and they definitely had
I was wondering,
great lines to bounce their improvisations off of. And I'm sure that applies for everything except Jeff Goldblum, who just was allowed to do whatever he wanted.
Right? Yeah.
But,
that's what they do with the actors that have been acting for 50 plus years. I'm pretty sure that Sam Jackson just kind of reads comics and goes, okay, all right, well, I'm going to sound like this. All right, everybody, roll. Whatever you say. Click. Roll credits. Whatever. But yeah, let's start off by talking a little bit of smack. This movie has a hilarious beginning. So he's in this cage. It looks super cool. He's talking to this dead character about his journey, about why he's there. And then they drop him from the cage and he's bound by chain. And he's spinning around trying to talk to Surtur. And then he has that moment where he's like, oh, wait, up, I'm spinning, up. I can't take you seriously right now because I can't see you. Hilarious. Audience laughed. I laughed. And then it happens again 13 seconds later. And to me, it's like you almost retracted the first joke. So if you retract the first joke, I just see a flat line. And I'm just like, what is this, 3 minutes? 3 minutes? This movie made how many billions? You guys are wasting my time, guys. You're wasting my time. It would have been perfect if they just didn't add the second time. Because after that, why not do it a third time?
When I first saw it in theaters, I thought it was awesome, but I thought that the humor detracted from a lot of the serious moments. And now having watched it an additional 3 times, I'm kind of okay with everything. There's a few jokes that do bother me, but there's something. Do you know who Patrice O'Neal is? He's a big fat black comedian. Yeah. He says that jokes, comedy, if a joke is bad, if a joke is good, both of those things come from the same place. You're just trying to make people laugh. So if a joke is funny, it's funny. If a joke is bad and horrible and offensive, your intention was still to make them laugh. You just, executed poorly. So for all the jokes that do land, it's, hooray, you get a kudos, big old pat on the back. But the things that don't, I'm going to try to at least let it go, because I do see the humor. It just fell flat on me in a few instances. Some of them definitely undercut any kind of serious aspect that you might have been going for in the plot. I think we'll talk about Thor bouncing a ball off of his skull, and Korg, spoilers for the end of the movie, Korg commenting on the destruction of Asgard as major things that won't allow the audience to really grasp what's going on. Mm-hmm. But
it's just ongoing narration. But I'm not hating on the political side of any joke. Don't get me wrong. I was listening to Daniel.
Political.
I was listening, or just anything offensive. That wasn't my intention. My intention is don't do the same joke twice.
Yeah. Did that one bother me? I was okay with it. I saw what you were doing.
It's fine. I mean, just
it's definitely a tone setter.
Well, here's the thing: did you watch the deleted scenes in this movie?
No. Mm-mm.
There was actually one. There's always at least one, but there was one that I feel like they could have included, and it would have if they needed time, they could have just cut that second similar joke out. But there's this scene of Thor just hanging out in Hulk's room, and he's sleeping, and then but he speaks out, he's talking in his sleep, but his voice is Mark Ruffalo's voice as Bruce Banner.
Right.
and
Okay.
that gives you some information on what's going on with Hulk. That Thor or Banner's in there.
I'm in the trunk and he's got the keys to the car. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. This
They
movie
wouldn't
did
have
so
needed to
much
have,
for Hulk.
I mean, I don't know that they would have needed to have said that later, but if they could have added that part, and that would have been a great scene.
Dude, you could tell Taika Waititi is flexing from the title card. Like after the Marvel introduction, the whole spiel that they do with the credits and the title card, there's a dissolve to fire, and the camera pans up to Thor in a cage, and golly, that scene just looked beautiful in the theaters. It's all orange with the spiky chain hanging down. Yeah, it was setting that this is going to be a huge tonal shift from the beginning, to have Thor narrate his own capture into spinning around in circles on a chain. So yeah, like
that's why I got it on Blu-ray, dog. I was not messing around.
Yeah, even that transition that they did from the from running away from a dragon into the title card for Thor Ragnarok with the Bifrost. Like, what?
God, that was awesome.
That's just amazing. Yeah. Like, come on, why are you this good already?
Before we get to that scene, I don't like what they're doing with the whole. Okay, I don't know much about Ragnarok. What I've heard from this movie, but I think it's weird to just have this story plot that's just like, oh yeah, the Asgardians are like the king of all these realms. I guess whatever Hela said, they stopped at 9 realms. I thought that's all there was. But so he's king of all these 9 realms. Now they're just chilling, making sure that, that no one, commits any crimes on any of these realms or whatever. But Surtur's like, there's this prophecy and I'm going to destroy Asgard. And it just sounds like something a bad guy would say. I'm going to get you eventually. One day it's going to happen. The prophecy. Ah, shut up. Go home. Okay. You're not scaring us over here. And it's like, they're bleeding into this narrative of like, oh, well, this is just supposed to happen someday. And it's like, why? And why is he the one who has to do it? The prophecy. Who made the prophet? Is he a character that was designed to destroy Asgard?
Specifically, yes. Kind of like, I guess the Wachowskis, The Matrix, how this has all happened before. You might think you're unique, but there have been 42 simulations before this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Ragnarok is cyclical. It's a cycle. And Surtur is the bringer of Ragnarok. Yeah, that's his design, his purpose in life. It just seems to destroy Asgard.
It just seemed to me like one of those things like, look, okay, I could give you a prediction for the future. Like, Trey, you keep doing this and this will happen. Or one day, I will become a famous YouTube star. But it's like, okay, but but saying that, like, you have another, 80 years on this planet? Like, you're being so vague. It's like, yeah, of course, well, in 80 years, anyone could become a YouTube star. It's a weird prophecy to make. Like, this is gonna happen. You mark my words, and then it's like, now, if I want to mark your words that 80 years this will happen. After 80 years, am I supposed to be documenting that it didn't happen? And then I come back to you and go, you liar, you. It's weird. Does anyone ever like?
It's incredibly petty.
Okay, put it this way. I've had conversations with people before that's just like, oh, you'll understand. You'll understand, and it's just
You'll
like, what,
see.
30 years later, like. But when you told me it wasn't relevant, and now 30 years later it's coming true, it's like, why don't you just tell me when it was relevant 30 years later? Anybody can be true if they just make random predictions about the future. Guess what? Planet Earth's gonna blow up one day. I'm pretty sure I'm telling the truth, and I'm right. But like, how right am I?
But was it prophesied? You got to understand that.
I'm making this prophecy right now. I will be right one day. It's a stupid thing to do.
Well, yeah, but Surtur has done this before. This isn't the first time he's destroyed Asgard. This is something that occurs every 5,000 blah, blah, blah years. Much longer, I'm sure. But that's Surtur's thing. He destroys Ragnarok. It's built anew. It's the plot to the Straczynski comic that if they do Thor 4, they borrowed a little bit of it from Thor when they made Thor 1. Where was that city at?
New Mexico?
Somewhere in Nevada or New Mexico. Okay. Yeah. A lot of the scenes that they did with the townspeople, they lifted heavily from the Straczynski comic. But the crux of Straczynski's comic is in the wake of Ragnarok, when all of it's been destroyed and Thor has to rebuild Asgard, and he chooses Oklahoma as the place to raise his kingdom. So if they do Thor 4, I hope to God that they take a more serious tone.
They're just gonna bring everybody to Earth. Didn't you tell me this one time? Like, there's like a floating. Is that for the X-Men? There's like a floating planet.
Yeah, I told you this on the Thor podcast.
No, well, okay. I thought I remember this conversation from a long time ago, that there's just a floating island of one race of people. I thought it was in SoCal or Northern Cal. I thought it was like San Francisco area.
No, it's in Oklahoma.
Okay, still interesting. But yeah, so Thor. I'm not sure where the hammer is. I feel like he left it somewhere on purpose so he can beat Surtur like at the last minute.
Yeah, that was his move. Yeah.
But the thing is like, as soon as he breaks out of his chain, Surtur's next line is, "You've made a grave mistake." I was just tied up in chains. Like, now I have a hammer and I'm not tied up, and now I've made the mistake.
Yeah.
This is the wrong time for this line. Maybe he would have said that line upon Thor's capture.
Yeah, it's obvious bad guy flexing, and I love the tone of this movie that they established right out of the gate. With, you can tell that Thor right away does not feel like he's in trouble. Oh no, Thor's in a cage. How did this happen? Like, yeah, no, he's not even worried about it.
It's true, but he never is though, right? Like, he just did when he like in the first movie, he just went to Jotunheim. He's like, I'm going there to put a stop. These guys cross us. They just bring their ice giants up. Not in my town. Like, you're the prince. Take it easy. I don't care. He just went.
He loves fighting. Yeah, it's one of his things.
He's such a meathead.
It's glorious.
Is it weird that Asgard just keeps like a bunch of different overpowered items in one location?
Yeah, that's why they had to separate the Power Stone out. But before we get to Asgard, because this is the only fight scene we get to see with the actual hammer.
Yeah.
How incredible are the physics for the hammer this time around?
I forgot.
I wish they did it for the first two movies.
In every scene that he's in, to be honest, like, yeah, the fighting was on point. The music, I love Led Zeppelin, perfect song. And like, it was totally awesome. And I'm bypassing one of the best parts of the movie, when he's flying away from the dragon. When he gets in the dragon's mouth, drops the fucking Mjolnir, and he's just like, all right, Heimdall, come on, man, stop taking so long.
It's
that
like,
was amazing.
Because they knew that they were going to take away the hammer from him very soon. They let's do all the tricks right now. Let's do everything awesome we can with the hammer in the next 3 minutes. They proceeded to do that.
He even did that to Loki later when he transforms back. Like, when he rests the hammer on Loki's chest, like, you can hear, you can kind of hear the get it off me. Like, he's just kind of. He's holding the hammer with all fingers, and he lets go of like 2 fingers. Then it's like, oh god, the weight. But yeah, one thing I want to say. So when we get inside Odin's vault, we notice a bunch of different items. They have the Tesseract. They have a box that looks just like the Tesseract, which I now have on good terms. Is, how do you not know this, man? That's the it's the thing from Jotunheim. It's the something of winter, 1,000 winters or something.
Yeah, it's winter in a box.
It's literally
my dick in a box.
It's like, that's, I think Loki grabbed that item in one move. I think, remember in one of the Thors where Loki was just blue?
Yeah, the first one.
Not when he was a baby.
And a little bit of
not when he was a baby. Like when he was in Odin's vault. I'm pretty sure they caught him trying to steal that. I think it's called Chamber of 1,000 Winters or something. That's in the vault. We have what looks like, we're not sure, they called it a fake Infinity Gauntlet, but if you look closely, that's a different hand. Thanos has a left glove where that is the right glove.
My God, man, you do pay attention to detail.
It costs millions of dollars to make these movies. Get it right. Who writes a math book and is like, whoops. Read all the mistakes, all the updates are in the back. Chapters 1 through chapter 12. I have all the updated the fuck ups, the typos and whatnot.
This is art, not science, man.
It costs way more than science books.
And plus, I think that gauntlet already had all of the Infinity Stones in it, right? Like it was clearly a knockoff. They went to some kind of galactic pawn shop and bought an Infinity.
But there was something else too on the other side of the Tesseract. It looked like a all gray globe. I wasn't sure. I couldn't find anything about it online. Nobody highlighted what it was, but it was like, oh, to my left we have this, and to my right, no one cares. But I mean, it seemed like the fact that they'd showed it, like I found on, was it the Doctor Strange movie? No, it was one of the other Thors. I told you about that eye. I thought was the eye of Agamotto, and it was
Agamotto. Yeah,
it was a different eye, Warlock eye or something. I'm just looking for all these Easter eggs, man. I loved this movie.
Yeah, and then not all of it is going to come into play, but it's nice to see. Good nod to the fans, all that. So after that, okay, what's great about the Surtur sequence before we move on is that all of that exposition dump was wrapped in fun, wrapped in visuals, and undercut with humor, and it served to set up the entirety of the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
they got that all out of the way, lickety split, and managed to make it incredibly palatable and super duper fun. So just all the props to Taika Waititi. After
well, I feel like you're right. One of the other things it tells us is how much Thor relies on that hammer. For whatever reason, he is 100% reliant on that hammer. At least
he's a god of hammers.
Yeah, right.
It's how he channels all that shit, man. It's important to him.
But he knows he's a god.
I mean, yeah, but hammers. How he channels all of his godhood. The look on his face when he tries to call the hammer to him the first time after it's been busted. Like, Chris Hemsworth might actually be a good actor because he's completely devastated and even actually like puts his hands over his head like he's going to give up before he's like, oh, wait, I'm also really, really strong. And then throws one of the scrappers.
Oh, but yeah, he throws God. That scene looks so funny because he grabs him and all you see is like, the scene in Smash Bros, like when you get knocked up over the top and then you kind of look like you're in the background falling in the back. He grabbed this guy who looked like he was about 6 feet tall, and then the dude just shrank to a tiny individual, which would appear that he's being thrown further and further away, but just it looks super hilarious.
And to your point, you could see the Thor's reliance on his hammer in that scene by his reaction to when it didn't come to him the first time when he called. And I love that sound cue that they have for when the hammer is making its way back to Thor, not just the sound of it crashing through walls, but that like sort of high piercing whine as it gets closer to him. Like during that scene, when he's about to fight the scrappers, you can hear that sort of noise start to come up before they shut it down super quick, and then his face goes from, oh shit, that's right, hell, it just broke my hammer, I don't have it anymore. Yeah, that was good acting and good audio cues.
Well, we also find out while he's talking to Surtur that Odin's not on Asgard, and Thor thought that was him at the end of part 2 when he tried to hand his hammer to his father, and his father just was like, it's yours, you go ahead and keep it. That was news to him. So once we get back to Asgard, we know something's up. There's way too much Loki praise being going around, and for the most hated prince of the whole.
Do you know who those 3 actors were?
We got Matt Damon. Who, by the way, I don't think we'll be seeing him in any more MCU films. Not to get
enough. You win the game.
Not to get too political, but what he said about the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, I don't know if you're supposed to be taking stances like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know what he said at all.
He was just saying that there's a difference between like jacking off into a potted plant and then like raping a girl. And he's right. He's right, but it's just, now's not the time to put yourself on this pedestal, buddy. The guy playing Thor was Liam Hemsworth. Did I get that right?
Yes, the least popular Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fun fact: Chris Hemsworth was almost like lost the role to his other brother, right? The role of Thor.
Maybe. I don't know.
Something I'd heard.
Do you know who's playing Odin?
I don't know him that much. It's one of those things where like he's in a lot of the director's other movies where it's like
Is he? I didn't know.
Yeah, like you'll see like John Travolta and Sam Jackson in most of Tarantino, right?
Okay. Well, that was Sam Neill. He's the main guy in Jurassic Park. And I thought he didn't do much after Jurassic Park.
He was with Jeff Goldblum in the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, and the third Jurassic Park for no reason. I guess he likes money more than dignity. But yeah. But yeah, it was nice to see Matt Damon reprise his role in Dogma as Loki. I thought that was super sly.
And well, when we get to Asgard, we see a giant statue for Loki, which who anywhere would build a statue if not if not the result of them being a slave, right?
Look, all Loki wants is praise and adoration from his people.
I know, right? And he doesn't have a people. He already went to Earth.
Elaborate plays to get yourself recognized.
It's not like it's too obvious what's going on here.
Yeah. And well,
because you get subtle differences. There we go. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins playing Odin, playing Loki, playing Odin is absolutely ridiculous. And it's a marvel he's able to do it so well. It
can't be that hard to just hang around in your boxers and not do anything.
It's just such an un-Anthony Hopkins performance coming from Anthony Hopkins. Board meetings, building meetings. 'Twas indeed hilarious. Like, yeah. Anthony Hopkins is just a treasure to watch.
Well, plus he was commenting on things that Matt Damon had said that Loki had done, like when Odin wasn't around. Like that time where Thor turns himself into a snake. Fun fact, actually happened in the comic books.
Frog. Yeah.
No. Loki turned himself into a snake because he knew that Thor liked snakes, and then he stabbed him in the chest. Like they say that later in the movie. That is actually from the comics. That was one of the
bigger laughs that I got in the theaters. That was my theater.
The frog thing too. That was another nod to comic book fans. Because have you heard of Throg?
Yeah, he's a frog in like a few issues of the comic book.
It's like, but like, are there more Avengers that are like that, or was it just him doing Adventures of Thor in frog form?
Oh, that was like a super, like, from the 70s comic. I definitely didn't read it.
Why not, Trey? Do you not have comic books dating back to the 70s?
I mean, no, it's definitely in like a big tote bag somewhere. But I'm telling you, like, what Marvel has done with their B and C and sometimes D-list characters in Guardians of the Galaxy, it's really incredible. So I'm glad that they're slowly getting all their toys back. It's a shame that it came this late in the game, but hopefully Thanos is going to snap his fingers, reset reality, and we get to go at this all over again with a bigger toy box.
Nice prediction. I like that. Interesting. That would kind of make sense. We'll have to dig into that a little bit later. Our predictions and whatnot. You know, another thing that's kind of weird about Asgard is Heimdall's a traitor to the throne.
Again, look, we say this every time we do a Thor show, but oh my God. Heimdall cannot catch a break. Why is he always constantly running from it to the point where, like, I just think Tycho threw that in? Well, no, because it's crucial to the plot that Heimdall has to be
just to lead the people.
Fucking stowaway. Yeah, he has to be Black Jesus and let my people go status.
I just mean there's way too many hints that Loki's in charge. It's like Heimdall's a traitor to the throne. Like, says who? Says Odin.
But he's always a traitor to the throne. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He did kind of he kind of turned his head when what's his name wanted to go to Jotunheim. Yeah, I don't know. This one's different. This one's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's different every time he does it. But the point remains, he keeps getting his job back, even though he's accused of like
because
treachery.
Of diversity training. I am looking very deeply into this damn movie, and I keep thinking that the Soul Stone is somewhere in that sword. I don't see it. how else does Heimdall have it? Like, if we're guessing that he has the Soul Stone, because they mention at least 5 times in this movie, he can see everybody, all souls.
Yeah,
I even like that bit at the end of it where like Loki shows up and he's like, I saw you coming, and he's like, did you? Yeah, okay. But it's like, I'm looking at the sword because the sword has all this power, or is it just the sword is just the shape of a key that turns the lock?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Key.
I don't. Really?
That's been its purpose the entire time. It's a key that turns the lock to the Bifrost.
Okay, fine. Okay. But is it shaped any specific way, or is it just the normal giant sword? Keys have indentations,
it's a broadsword that has a few ridges on the end that are shaped Bifrost latchkey style, you know? Do you want to get straight to Earth? Because there's a Doctor scene, or a Doctor Strange scene before that. And even then there's the character that Carl Urban plays, Scourge, in one of the jokes. I don't like his character, but that's only because he opened his introduction with a shake weight and a pun. So I was instantly out.
That's one thing. About Scourge is, do we need this character?
Well, Helen needs someone to talk to. Otherwise, she's just monologuing like Black Panther into the middle distance and not talking to anyone specifically. So yeah, we need a character for Hela to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I suppose
important in that regard.
Because other than that, he's just a traitor. So I mean,
yeah.
Just kill him at some point, right? He also, definitely looked like Scourge from the comic book. Don't get me wrong. He did a very good job looking like the character. That's really all I need. I don't know.
Also, you definitely would have done the same thing in his position.
Me?
You look like a smart boy. I'm just a janitor.
I don't know. I like to think I got more balls than that.
You just saw him kill the Warriors. Kill the Warriors too. Without batting an eye.
I don't know that I could just be somebody's bitch.
Yeah, if it takes not getting a magical sword to the chesticles, if then just be somebody's bitch.
Okay, I get it. If you're Guardians of the Galaxy 1, if you're Ronin, and you're just like, look, man, I don't need you anymore. Like, I was just waiting for this moment. Now I have a Power Stone, and boom, Thanos, what now? You call me boy? I get that. But not if you're just trying to live. Like, because living like that's a terrible way to live. Just live under someone's thumb like that. That sounds awful.
What did that character from The Mummy? He's Brendan Fraser's little Middle Eastern sidekick. Begins with a B. Whatever. He had a great line that says, "Better to be at the right hand of the devil than in his path."
It's a coward.
Yeah. He's the guy who sides with the Mummy.
That's a coward
thing to say. You're gonna use Des and Troy on her, right, when you see her? Mm-hmm. You're gonna try to blast her back through the Bifrost.
Together, they're destroyed. I got them from Texas.
All right.
But yeah, let's go to Earth. Doctor Strange has some gloves, and I guess that completes the outfit, right?
Essentially, yeah. Why are they there? They're looking for Odin, and he's been left at the Shady Acres retirement home.
Yeah, which is Shady Acres has been used a few times in different motion pictures. I think it was in Happy Gilmore, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and South Park.
Really?
Yeah.
Good recollection.
Good.
Yeah, I just thought that was always
I'm just recalling the internet. I read this. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it's always the go-to retirement home for some reason. I didn't know. But I think you were asking me before this podcast started. By the way, we got to take a break soon. If Odin was dead or not, but no, apparently he's just been put under a spell and banished to a retirement home.
Yeah, they don't go too much into that though. He's under Loki's spell.
Mm-hmm. For a while until he breaks free of it.
Loki did this while Thor was gone in part 2.
Mm-hmm. While he was on Earth.
Does it have something to do with the Odin sleep? Like he was getting tired, and that's why. See, they don't tell you much about it. I remember him saying that was a good spell. Frigga would be proud.
Yeah, that's all you're meant to know. This movie is a very cohesive reboot. Did it bother you at all that nobody recognized Loki on Earth? as the guy who tried to destroy Earth nigh but 8 years ago.
That was kind of, yeah, they know Thor, but not Loki. That's the bad guy to look out for.
I guess Thor came back in Ultron and Thor 2. And okay, yeah, Thor's pretty much been on Earth. Thor's sort of a celebrity on Earth. And yeah, okay, that's kind of fair because Loki hasn't really been back since he tried to take over the world. So yeah, I guess people wouldn't recognize him, especially since he's looking all dapper in a suit now.
Well, yeah. Also, like, yeah, I think Loki's only time on Earth was in Avengers, and most of his time was spent like in Germany. So, like, any other time he was a straight up bad guy, like, I don't think he was on like a giant camera.
I'm pretty sure.
He was. Yeah, he was like he was a bad guy on the Stark building. Like, and who could see him up there? Tony.
I'm pretty sure somebody got a mugshot when they were processing him for human jail. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty sure Spider-Man did, right?
But yeah, right away they arrive on Earth and Doctor Strange just straight up kidnaps Loki and leaves his little calling card. Come to Bleecker Street. I have questions.
Well, hold on. I'm sorry. I feel like see, we were trying to tie these movies together, but there's this very important part. Hey, Loki died in part 2. Do we remember this? How much of what we saw was a trick, Loki? Because I went back and saw what happened. I forgot what that being's name was, but that guy who ate that seed and became super strong and he kept whooping Thor's ass with a hammer. He what happened was what Loki stabbed him in the back, and then he turned around, and then I guess as soon as that happened, it was all, an illusion, right? Because he grabs Loki, chest to chest bump, and now they're both stabbed. And then I think someone throws one of those weird balls that just kind of it takes your whole body molecule by molecule, throws in a different direction, something like that. And then Loki,
Algrim the Accursed.
There we go.
And he should totally be dead. But A, comic books, B, the god of mischief, and C, he's just way too cool to kill off.
Well, when they show the scene later in this movie, like, it's very obvious what's happening, like where he just kind of throws his body forward like a decoy and just walks around, and then his dialogue even gets very weak, and Thor's just like, oh, God, Loki, where are you?
Yeah. They did another little post-credit sequence twist at the end of Doctor Strange, like they did with Captain America: Civil War. Yeah, no, it was Ant-Man, where they used the scene from Civil War. Mm-hmm. But it was edited a little different. So Taika Waititi used this set before they tore it down at the end of Doctor Strange to do these Thor sequences.
Yes,
and they liked it so much that they expanded upon it and kept it. It's nice to introduce Thor to the ever expanding roster of characters that happened since he was not in Age of Ultron. So Earth has wizards now, and bam, he knows Strange already. But I was surprised at how tonally it fit with the humor that Taika Waititi was going for in this movie, how it fit with Doctor Strange. So it's nice to see everything come together.
And we're back. We're back talking about Thor Ragnarok.
All right, so before we get into the badass goth metal gangster that Hela is, how do you like the depiction of Doctor Strange as a more learned magician? You could tell from the post-credit sequence at the end of Doctor Strange. You can't tell from that, but in this movie you could get a good feeling that Doctor Strange has been Doctor Stranging for a while now and has a pretty good grasp of magic, at least within his sanctum, because he's definitely more powerful in the very short time that we get to see him on screen than he was throughout pretty much the entirety of his movie. Controlling time aside, he's just much faster with the spells, with the reading books, with the pulling of hair, with the creating of portals. He's just a very competent magician.
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't wait to see the side of
supreme.
him, and I guess we had to wait and see the whole origin story to finally get there. Maybe it would have been weird to just have him show up and be already Professor X'd out.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a little something he still doesn't have control over. I don't know if you noticed, but it seems like he's having trouble transporting Thor's hammer.
What? He can't move it at all. They've
even
been
with
pretty
sorcery,
consistent.
like that is insane. Even with magic, you can't move the magical hammer.
They've been pretty consistent in every single film, showing just that. No, it's only Thor that can do this.
Okay. Let's backtrack a little bit, and by backtrack I mean go forward to the part where Hela shatters the glass up top. That whole Sistine Chapel they have of peace and love, and we're Asgard's the king of the 9 realms and whatnot. When they show you how Hela won, that was her hammer before. That's why she was able to break that shit. Well, because she's super duper strong, but she could have grabbed it and just fought Thor with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know about this whole worthy of. Remember that shit that they were giving Thor in part 1?
Mm-hmm.
And then every Avenger that tried to pick it up.
It seems tied to the blessing of Odin and worthiness as a secondary aspect. But yeah, clearly Odin gave her the hammer. This shit is yours until I deem you way too scary to keep around.
I suppose that makes sense. But I mean, it's insane. Like, because I had to watch that scene a couple times. Like, okay, so he could have easily
where she breaks it or where she tears down the.
I'm going
chapel.
back to the. I'm going back to the part where Strange couldn't move it. Like he couldn't do anything.
He never tried to.
No, okay. So what happens is, so they're both standing brother and brother on the street. Thor's taking selfies with some chicks, right? Doing what Thor does, or doing what Chris Hemsworth does. Let me put that back into perspective.
That's where we learned that Jane dumped him.
It was it was a mutual dumping.
Sorry.
So he immediately just teleports what's his name into a pit of falling space or whatever. Loki. I'm pretty sure he could have teleported both characters, but he decides to leave Thor with an address.
Yeah, because Loki's evil and Thor can be talked to.
I think he could have transported Thor. I think it was that hammer. And so then once he comes inside the house, like he has it. He did what's his name, Blake Nelson does, where he turns it into like a walking stick. I guess he had it as an umbrella. And then he's looking at it, he's just like, Thor Odin's son, you could put down the umbrella. And he puts it down an umbrella stand, and after that, boom, starts teleporting Thor like nobody's business. Oh, we're over here. Oh, no, we don't need that. Oh, no, we don't need that. We don't need to do this. Stop doing that. You're making me spill my beer.
And I don't know if this was done intentionally, but I think it's a nod to Doctor Strange's reclusive nature, that he doesn't, I guess, understand why this would be off-putting to some people, or rather disorienting to some people. Because, like, Thor is jarred with each teleport, whereas, Doctor Strange already has a book in his hand open to the page he wants it to, He's like, it's totally. They dick with each other. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, well, when Thor gives it back to him, he just reaches his arm out and calls Mjolnir. He's like, all right, hold on.
Sorry.
Don't forget your hammer, or don't forget your umbrella.
Yeah.
That scene was
and that was a cute little mini confrontation between Loki and Doctor Strange. I would have liked to see that play out a little bit more.
Oh.
But regardless, we're transported to Norway, or rather a CGI cliff on a field in Atlanta.
Is that just what Norway looks like? Because, man, let's go.
No, they filmed that scene in Atlanta, and clearly backdrops being backdrops, but convincing. It was great. Loki's dying speech. Odin's dying speech. Odin seems to be dying in every movie that we're in. But I love the, and by the way, Hela's going to come and kill all of you.
I didn't mention her before a couple of movies ago, you found out you weren't really brothers. I thought it was a bad time to tell you had a sister.
Yeah, he's been just a bad father.
Well,
his entire life.
Does it have anything to do with how relevant time is? Because okay, like you're what, a 30-year-old man? So say you have a kid, and by right now, 10 years from now, you're 40, he's 10. You could regale him with, these stories of things that I did in my 20s and my 30s. Like, how long would it take for Odin to be like, well, in my 100s, I was a bad kid. After my 300th year, I started to stand up a little bit taller. I put the collared shirt on. I went to work. I grinded it out 40 hours a week. I started to realize what it was like to make my own money and be a real man.
I mean, yeah, maybe you shouldn't just heap on your kids all the things that you fucked up conquering the 9 realms, but maybe mention Hela. Maybe.
No, you're right.
Seems important because she shows up immediately.
I banished your older sister, who's some more powerful than me. This goes back to what I was saying a long time ago. Are women just overrepresented as the most powerful superhero / villains in the MCU? God damn it. Does she have an equal? Or who is it? Jean Grey? The Phoenix? Is it Sue Storm? Who's her equal? One of the many overpowered women? Come on, take it down a notch.
I mean, for every overpowered woman, there's a Vulcan on Apocalypse.
Vulcan's a character they use for like 13 comic books.
True. Well, then you have the living planets. All the Celestials are men. I mean, yeah, they parse it out. And don't forget about Jubilee.
Stop.
The most useless. But yeah, no, Hela's broken as fuck. And she knows it right out of the gate. Cate Blanchett is perfect for this role because while Thor gets the the most interesting scenes and it's just generally fun to be around him, what Hela does with the B plot is super fun. Like they're never really going to flesh out a Marvel villain. We've talked in the past about how villains are Marvel's kind of weak spot, but like as like just a badass kill the Warriors 3 the second you see him, just wicked outfit, awesome headdress, and just ham. Just camp, just being super hammy every time you're on screen. It definitely moved things along while we were on Asgard waiting for things to develop with Thor.
She might be one of my favorite overpowered villains.
I was happy every time I saw her.
There was a few editing scenes that I feel like they could have taken care of in this movie. In Norway / Atlanta, like she's talking smack to Loki, and Thor is like, "You guys need to kneel." And Loki first.
Yeah, I love how she said it.
Loki first remembers the Avengers one where he was in Germany going kneel and made everybody but that one guy kneel, and has an issue with it. But so she does this thing where she just pulls swords out of everywhere. We'll go over this later. How she stopped the ship in motion from grabbing the Earth's largest sword. But she whips out her left hand. She's like, and the sword pops out, and she's like, kneel. And then she then the next scene, she has like 2 hands free, and she like puts on her fucking headdress. And those cool horns come out, and then she whips out both arms, and 2 swords come out. Like where did she drop the first sword? Where did that one go?
Oh, they materialize, son. They materialize. The preview that I saw that everybody saw for the movie showed that scene where the Valkyries attack her, and I thought that was I didn't know how that was going to be incorporated in the movie, but it was sort of like a dreamy flashback sequence induced by Loki. So
inspired by 300.
And it's definitely some Zack Snyder influence on that one, But yeah, God, that was just out of a comic book art piece panel.
Yeah,
and it made Hela look all the more awesome. But yeah, everything she does in this movie is OP.
Well, it was a beautiful distribution of look. There was this one war a long time ago that we're not going to go into too much. We need to go over it really quickly. It's like when they were going over when Odin was telling the story of I destroyed Jaffe or whatever his name is, Jaffe, like. They just showed was it thinking of the Dark Elves one where they just showed up on the planet, started whooping everybody's ass. Either way, I feel like that was a really good way to show everything. Like, here's what happened. This lady, a billion swords, and a bunch of women on horses. It's
yeah,
great.
I think I might have mentioned this when Thor Ragnarok first came out, right around the on another one of these podcasts somewhere in the past. We've done too many, but this movie favors like sort of iconic visual scenes as opposed to action plot beats, like how a Captain America is like where like Steven Rogers and Batroc face off, and then there's punching and kicking and whatnot. Whereas they go for like a fucking oil painting, some fucking beautiful fucking masterpiece looking shot in slow motion. And oh yeah, that's the story. Clearly, every one of them bitches died. Horses falling out of the sky. Like, yeah, that tells me the story of this battle.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of it had to do with, I feel like you were hating on a lot of Doctor Strange when they were showing the scenes of him going through the multiverse and whatnot.
No, I liked all of those things. I did not like the origin story aspect of it. It was so Iron Man.
Oh, okay. I
I
definitely liked it, and I feel like since this movie is just mostly just green screen, it was kind of not easy, but it made more sense to oil painting. So clearly, this is something done on the computer. But a lot of Winter Soldier. A lot of that, I know they used some graphics here and there, but that was just a UFC fighter and Chris Evans fighting on a ship.
Yeah.
Loki,
right,
you son of a bee, leads Hela right back to Asgard.
Yeah, they tried to stop him, Thor tried to stop him from calling whoever to open the Bifrost. And right away we get to see how broken she is.
Back.
That's exactly what I was saying, because the second she shows up, just knives to the chest for Volstagg and Fanrel, who I can't believe they paid to show up in this movie just to get it within the first 3 seconds of being on screen. But you can only do that once, because they're dead. But it was a perfect way to really illustrate that she is not to be trifled with, Yeah, we've been with these guys for 2 whole movies, and she just kills them without even batting an eye.
Yeah,
before even saying her name.
And how many hours would it have taken her to show up on Asgard? Like, first of all, I don't know how she just showed up in Norway. Like, was it because his existence was gone?
She realized.
She was just like, "Oh, here's where you guys are."
The last spot Odin was. And a nice little bit of visual storytelling. When she shows up in Norway, her clothes are all tattered and shit. And when she shows up in Asgard, she's got the complete set. Yeah,
interesting.
So being on Asgard makes her more powerful, even though it's not a place; it's a people.
There's a couple things that are kind of unexplained in this movie. They just kind of leave it up to your imagination. One of them is one of the end credit scenes with the ship. I feel like that's not so self-explanatory. We'll go over that.
No, it wasn't at all. In fact, to this day, it isn't. We just, probably correctly assume that it's Thanos' ship, but no, they left that very much a mystery.
It's like Sanctuary 2?
Sure. Well, why do I know that name?
Sanctuary 1 was like that planet. It's not a planet, but it's just a bunch of like asteroids hanging around. Like when he was talking to Loki and Guardians, out of that, he made like a chair out of a bunch of rocks. That's his first sanctuary. This is what I read on famdom.com or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
So let's see. So they're coming back to Asgard, and then Loki falls out first. I suppose that's why he lands on this planet so much earlier than Thor. And then Thor,
because time works differently.
and then Thor falls out and does this whole thing where he gets captured, and say here's some more of those humorous scenes where the guy's just like, "Are you food, or are you a fighter?" I'm just passing through. 'Tis food. That guy was awesome. And even like the scene with the Valkyrie showing up, like just
Tessa Thompson
shows up clearly drinking, and then as she's walking down the ship, just falls right off. Wait a minute.
Yeah, and God, we need to use her intro music for the music for some of these intermissions, because she came out to a pretty badass song. Just her ship in general is awesome. It's ridiculous. A shame. A, it's a shame it blew up, and B, it's a shame that we don't get to see more of it. But yeah, you know, that pose as she's, and you know, I always love seeing a world that's been lived in. Like, I love all the graffiti on the walls in Wakanda and whatnot. It just looks like a town that people spent some time in, as opposed to like a Star Wars set from at least the prequels. Wait, there's graffiti on the walls
in Wakanda? They have spray paint there?
I mean, you know, like people hanging their clothes up on a clothesline to wash or something. Paying attention to it, like rhinos that need to be fucking cared for in a pen in a menagerie, you know, things like that.
I'm just wondering,
illustrate that this world has been lived in.
I'm just wondering, like, did someone spray paint like 13 on a wall in Wakanda and I didn't notice?
Sure. But yeah, like Tessa or Valkyrie banging her fists together because like she didn't charge her batteries on her ship. Like, this fucking glitch. This always happens type of thing. Like, those little things like that always add to a story for me. So right away he gets the zappy thing on his neck. Whoa. And even though he's the god of thunder, he can't handle electricity to the dome.
See, that's kind of what I was wondering though. Like, was it because he was severely weakened from the travel and that net that they threw on him that kind of weakened him, like that you know, that thing stuck to him? Because it didn't seem like Hulk had one on him.
No, Hulk is a celebrated champion, so and he's not really clamoring to leave, whereas the rest of these people are prisoners. So you don't really need to restrain Hulk. It'll just make him angry.
Okay, and, I guess that is true. He was the only one there who wasn't a prisoner, because it was, if you beat him, you're not a prisoner anymore. But I guess I didn't really think about that. Funny Easter eggs. Those statues on the what's his name? The Jeff Goldblum
Grandmaster.
Yeah, did you notice who those statues were? Those faces?
I noticed that one of them was Beta Ray Bill, but I didn't recognize the other two.
I think they threw him on the Planet Hulk cartoon. So instead of using Silver Surfer like in the comics, they used Beta Ray Bill.
Really?
Who, as far as I know, he's like the equivalent of Thor somewhere else. I get that right?
Yeah, I used to know his backstory, but I never really liked anthropomorphized characters, especially when they're clones of an established character.
Oh, 100%. He looks like Joe Camel with Thor's outfit on.
essentially, yeah.
But like,
that's exactly what
literally with the same powers and whatnot. Like, I think this actually I read in one of the comic books, and it was probably taken from the World War Hulk series when they went over the Cronin and whatnot. Because Thor took out a shit ton of Cronin with Beta Ray Bill at his side, and that has got me thinking. So Thor and Beta Ray Bill are basically Thor and Thor.
Yeah.
What kind of team duo? Holy shit! What can take out that duo? I don't think Hela can.
Choice little.
That insanity right there. Fuck the Avengers, man. I got my twin horse brother over here who's just rocking it with a mace that works just like mine that my dad made him too. Dad, is this another brother I don't know about?
Question, is Willy Wonka in the Disney family?
Not that I know of, which I thought, I checked and make sure, because that song was playing while he was on that one little ride. Hold on. So we're going over those statues. So Beta Ray Bill, I have this in the notes, Trey. I don't know if you found it, but one is, help me out with the name here, By Beast.
No.
There's so I think Hulk is at the top. It's Beta Ray Bill, By Beast. Ares is another one of them.
Is that really Ares?
What I read online.
Okay.
I can't think of who the fourth one was. If there was a fourth one. You don't know who By Beast is? I sure don't. I was hoping you would.
No, nothing. No, it's just some cool shit to have up before getting to meet the Grandmaster.
Well, I suppose that means that these people have come through and they were victors, right? And they won their freedom?
It seems like that because you could see that they were building the Hulk statue. So yeah, I guess Beta Ray Bill exists within the continuity of this universe. Yeah,
could be cool for later.
No, couldn't possibly be.
Let's see where we at.
We get to meet the Grandmaster. There's not really much to say about Jeff Goldblum's performance other than, Goldblum being Goldblum. Is there anything you want to add to the ridiculous that he?
I thought 100% that he just made up his own lines on the spot.
It seems that way. I mean, you obviously they had to give him some direction of where they wanted the scene to go. Like the melt stick thing, he might have improvised that entire bit.
Yeah. Okay, so that was kind of weird. That whole so skip, just going back a little bit. Just a little bit. So I feel like that scene where where it looked like he was on a roller coaster, like it was, I don't know why he freaked out at the end. I know that whole bit came from the Willy Wonka movie. Like even the part at the end where it flashes a bunch and it's just like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? And people freak out. It's just like,
is it raining? Is it snowing? That shit was horrifying.
I've actually seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Neither
no,
of
that's
them, not the Johnny Depp one, whatever that one was called.
Well, don't watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but definitely watch the original Willy Wonka. That gave most children nightmares because Gene Wilder turns into a fucking psychopath.
I've seen a shit ton of memes that even I think are funny, and I've never seen the movie. But but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was weird when he was kind of freaking out. I mean, I know it was for a
danger must
purpose,
be growing.
But it's
the rowers keep on rowing. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. Go on.
Moving forward, what did you think about Asgard not giving in to Hela? Like she literally came in like, look, I am the rightful heir. Anyone here, first of all, Asgardians are immortal, right? So some of you know of my existence. This could not be the first time you've heard of Hela. Whoever you are.
That guy's name isn't Balder. What is his name?
I don't know.
Hogan.
God.
Played by Asano. But yeah, after she gives that monologue about her rightful claim to the throne, whoever you are. I love her reaction of, did you not listen to a single fucking word? Yeah.
Well, as funny as it was, I feel like I liked the idea that they weren't going to give in to what seemed like a terrorist while who they thought was the rightful heir, Thor, was gone. But she
does have a legitimate claim to the throne.
Yeah,
though.
like, well, that's what's, now that I'm thinking about it retrospectively, I'm thinking, how do none of them know? Not one person there is like, I remember her. No, she's the first daughter. She's like 800 years older than Thor.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Asgard has been through a Ragnarok cycle since last we saw Hela, but yeah, nobody really knew or cared to get to know her, and yeah, you could kind of see the little heartbreak on her before she eviscerated everything.
That was such a good scene too.
What did she say? I thought you'd be happy to see me. I genuinely thought this would be a nice homecoming, but I have to kill all of you.
Everything. And
literally all of you.
There's even like flying ships that which I thought was really funny. None of it
mattered.
Well, because so you see like a giant flying ship in the background, and then you see it like shoot two Star Wars like lasers, and then she pulls up her cloak and it's like beep beep beep, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like gun bullets are bigger than that.
Nope.
Nope. She blocked him with her cape. Like there's no repercussion at all. There wasn't an explosion.
Forget about the gun bullet. She got stabbed through the back and elbowed that guy in the face. Yeah. Like nothing bothered her.
Pretty damn invincible.
Not a thing. I just hit her with the biggest lightning bolt in the history of lightning. Did nothing. Yeah. Asgard definitely maxes out her power. So with the Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum's performance does a good job with taking away from all of the ridiculousness going on in the background. Like his soldiers, what are they even? The entire room that they're in when they're dealing with the Grandmaster. Like, even before we get to see Loki, all the soldiers standing around, like, they look like they're straight out of some kind of Japanese anime or like an episode of the Power Rangers.
There's
it's nutty.
There's a celestial hidden on one of these scenes. I think it's while they're in the Colosseum and like Loki is sitting like way far apart from the Grandmaster. There's a person standing in celestial costume. Where it's like, I don't know, it looks like there's a like yellow line down the middle and there's like these yellow dots that look like eyes and it's just a whole red outfit.
Well, all right. I guess Celestials like battles too.
I feel like the Celestial would just run the planet, you know.
It could be fuck, I get that guy. Begins with an E. Whatever.
Ego.
The High Evolutionary. No, the High Evolutionary, which doesn't begin with an E at all. But yeah, he could be scooting around the universe somewhere.
I think the Grandmaster's kind of funny because his he hates the word slave, but they say that you're his property.
That was totally an improvised line. There was no reason to stop there, just to have that little back and forth between. And what's his accomplice's name? Because she's ridiculous too. They did a good job playing. Yeah,
she's in another one of the director's movies. That fat Asian chick.
Rachel House. Topaz.
Sure.
Okay. She is. Yeah, I didn't know. In one of Taika Waititi's movies?
Mm-hmm. Like
you've seen?
No.
So he's directed something, Hunt for the Wilder People, and something else. Have you seen any of Taika's movies?
Not that I know of.
So why do you know that? You just read the IMDb? And that piece of information stuck with you?
Don't you do what I do where you go, look, what are all the Easter eggs from this movie? And you watch it and then you go, oh, okay, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, thank you for bringing that to light.
Well, this is the first time like a Marvel movie has made me legitimately want to check out another director. So I'm definitely going to see What We Do in the Shadows. I've heard good things about that. Like I'm genuinely really impressed about the direction in this film.
Yeah, I like it too.
Well, more
I don't know
than any other Marvel movie. So we're Tournament of Champions? Yeah. The fight.
Okay, now that is actually that's actually from the comic books. I don't think that's what they call it in the Colosseum, but that is that I think the Grandmaster has what he does is like he sets up games like basically what he's doing on this planet. Mm-hmm. And he's calling it this. Well, what I'm saying is what happened on Planet Hulk was Grandmaster was played by someone named the Red King. So it was a different character kind of doing the same thing, but they literally took like the Grandmaster is over here in like a different planet playing games with a bunch of heroes and villains anyway, you know what I mean? So they kind of just plugged him into a different area. No idea why, but I mean it worked.
Yeah, and this has been kind of the staple for comic book movies to just take bits and pieces of iconic pieces of, and they've got 70 years of stuff to choose from. So this is the closest we're going to get to see to a Planet Hulk movie, which is fine.
Because
fine.
As cool as it would be, the rights. He's got to be a co-actor. It can't just be a Hulk movie. They're not going to make any money. But you know what? Do you remember? So what's her name? Tessa
Thompson, Valkyrie.
What's her name in here? Scrapper.
Valkyrie.
What does he call her?
Scrapper 142.
Okay. Do you know why they call her 142? Is another nod to you comic geeks out there.
Oh, really? What is it?
Her first appearance was in Incredible Hulk 142.
Well, god damn it. That's pretty neat. Wait, like the White Valkyrie was in that, like her very first comic appearance?
Yes.
Okay. I could have sworn it was in like a Tales to Astonish from like way back in like the 60s or something. But all right,
I thought that I did see something when I was doing my wiki research about Tales to Astonish, but I think it was Hulk and there's a history with Hulk. I know I mentioned this before, how Hulk and Namor are both owned by Universal. Like they had their own like spin-off comic series, I think, when Hulk was just coming out.
All right. So we're in the ring now. Loki, for some reason, even though he's been on this planet for a few weeks longer than Thor, has not bothered to look into who the Grandmaster's champion is. and lo and behold, the Hulk has been on this world the entire time. And while some of the rest of the movie goes for more hyper stylized fight scenes, this is a regular old beat 'em up. It's just hammers and fists,
a great battle,
and some Dragon Ball Z nonsense power up scenes. It was absolutely banana clips.
To me, it shows me what I should be seeing when these two go hand to hand. Anyway, like the fact that they showed it on the helicarrier in the first Avengers was super duper dangerous. Now they're in a coliseum.
Oh yeah,
where there's just plenty of room to just whoop ass, and everyone likes Hulk here, so it's like there's nothing stopping him from going balls out. There was something I was gonna say. Loki says this line later on in the movie. He says, "I hear," or maybe it was earlier. He says, "I hear that the champion is astonishingly." What was the next word? Incredible, astonishingly
brutal?
Savage. This is a combination of Tales to Astonish and a whole comic called something Savage. Savage Hulk.
Well, aren't you just filled with Easter eggs, man?
Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted from the beginning. I guess I just didn't do my homework the first 17 episodes. Sorry. It's
fine, forgiven. My favorite part about the fight is the smile on Thor's face pretty much the entire fight. You can tell that both of them really enjoy cutting loose.
He's a friend from work.
yeah, but like
that's not
even in the
midst, though. I mean, come on, like, don't you think like they'd have a backup plan? Like, oh, you guys are friends, well, you fight someone else instead, right?
No, why would you let them go at it anyway? No,
why would you make it well known that your opponent is your friend?
He's super happy to see the guy. It's been years.
How the world?
It's been 2 years at least since Sokovia. Yeah. What are you doing on the other side of the galaxy? I know this man.
Yeah. Well,
apparently
that's great because the last time we saw Hulk was it Age of Ultron? Yeah,
mm-hmm. yeah. This last time we saw both of them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Good. Oh, yeah, because that was after Thor 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's really impressive with this movie especially that these are the two characters Marvel doesn't really know what to do with, I mean, they don't really have the rights to make their own solo Hulk movie again, and Thor's was kind of in a rut with the perceived failings of Thor 2 especially, but Thor 1, underperformed and it was just generally understood that this is a hard character to get right. So yeah, congratulations on putting both of them in a movie and making both of them awesome. And Hulk genuinely has a story arc in this one, like this is Bruce, or I'm sorry, the most personality that you see out of the Hulk. The only movie to attempt to make him a character that isn't just Hulk smash.
Yeah,
like you really get to see what's in his head.
Well, and it's 100%
like a
due to the fact
big
that
old child.
It's right when he like gets all mad when he's like throwing a shield at Thor and he's like, that's why everyone in Earth hates you, and he's like,
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's to be expected though. Like, of course he's going to open up and start talking and whatnot, because every time he comes out in like one of these movies, like he transforms into the Hulk. So it's not like, what we're led to believe is that Hulk and Brant Banner are two different people, and it's just one person's in charge the whole time, depending on what he looks like, right? Depending on his anger and whatnot. So this guy, all he is just fueled with anger and rage the whole time. Like, well, on this planet, he gets to whoop ass and then just go home and doesn't have to worry about, I'm hurting people and people don't like me. And so it's just like, well, what you're doing is great. So like, maybe we can open a dialogue, like, what else do you like to do? And he's, smash? Yeah, but what? Like, you're done smashing. Though, like, what are you gonna do?
He really seems to enjoy the fact that people on this world like him, whereas you could see when he was flying away in Age of Ultron the devastation that he caused, and this is my fault. So So like, yeah, this is his happy moment. This is I bought a sports car.
Yeah. Well, it's the
he's riding off into the sunset.
In Planet Hulk, the whole was it before that the Illuminati? The whole plan was Doctor Strange was looking for a planet for this guy to go to where he wouldn't hurt. Well, he couldn't hurt anything essentially, but more importantly, I guess not more importantly, but he couldn't hurt anything, and they wouldn't hurt him. It's like where he
is that how he ended up on Sakaar?
Well, there's this whole, like it didn't exactly go out as planned. So like I was trying to say earlier, so yes, they tricked him on the ship and whatnot, but before that, Strange was looking through dimensions, going, "Hey, I found this perfect planet for you." It's like, I mean, you're not going to piss anybody off, and you're going to be in peace. What you want, like Hulk just wants to be left alone. He found they were gonna like the course was set for that planet. Don't remember exactly what happened, but something offset the course, and he crash landed on this slave planet, and then he had to just take over and become King Hulk.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then essentially what ends up happening down the line is they don't go over it in this movie at all, but he hooks up with the character. I guess Valkyrie takes the place. I don't remember what the girl's name was, but she takes I guess she's the girl of the story, who would have played this character.
Well, yeah,
but
he marries her. It's his wife.
But
before she's violently
murdered.
Spoilers for the comics.
She's not violently murdered. Like is it murdered? Like okay, she's blown up, but it's not like it wasn't intended for her. Does that count as murder? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess not. But he definitely blames them anyway.
From what I know, there was a bomb on that ship, and then like what happens after Hulk takes over and overthrows the Red King, like he's fine being the king of this planet. He's just like, I'm going to stay here. I got this wife. He doesn't know that he has an unborn child yet. And some kids are like making a diorama out of the Quinjet or whatever. And I guess someone's like, hey, get out of this. Don't play with that. And then like it plays the message of kind of what happens. And then it's like and the message that ends up playing is the Illuminati, everybody but Charles at this point. I think Black Panther and Strange are all a part of it. Black Bolt and like Reed Richards and whatnot. They're all just like, Hulk, you're a danger to this planet. We can't have you here. We're going to send you somewhere that you can't hurt us anymore. And they just like, and that kind of pisses him off. And then the thing blows up and his wife dies. And he didn't realize later what he thought was, I think he did know his wife was pregnant. Not sure, but son's alive, by the way.
Scar comes in later, yeah.
But yeah, so he's just like, okay, so you sent me here against my will. I had to be a slave and overthrow this planet. And like literally, I know I'm Hulk, but Jesus Christ, I had to do a lot to do this. And now you kill my family? So you intended to kill me.
That is a reason to come back to Earth with the Warbound and rip a new hole into New York.
He's like so broken when he's coming back. I think the end of that comic panel for the end of Planet Hulk before World War Hulk, like I think he's standing on top of the ship while it's in outer space. Like that's how I don't care about oxygen or temperature, none of it. I am going to kill all of you. It's going to start with you, Black Bolt.
Yeah, they arrive at Black Bolt first, and oh god, that was a great splash page of him walking through Black Bolt's scream. Like, I'm just going to rip out your throat hole. I hate everything about you. Oh my god.
And they had to nerf that story later too, right? Because you end up finding out that Black Bolt wasn't as strong as Black Bolt on account of that
was genuinely Black Bolt.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. That was a Skrull.
That was a Skrull? Shit, you're right. It was. I thought Elektra was the first reveal. No, Elektra was the reveal, and then we found out later that Black Bolt was a Skrull, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about the Elektra part, to be honest. I remember that the part was, that wasn't Black Bolt. So it's like, I guess that Skrull can replicate a amount of power, but not quite Black Bolt.
Yeah. Okay.
Because his powers are like, he's basically cosmic, right? His power, the one power to scream super duper loud.
Well, not even that. A whisper could just tear you apart. But yeah, if he screams, it takes out planets. it's a thing.
Pretty insane.
None of that is why we're here. But we do get to meet one of the Warbound from the comic books. We get to see Korg.
Yeah.
I don't know if Meek plays a part in the comics.
Yeah, he's in there.
He is?
He's there? Yeah, they're two of the more memorable characters. Meek is diabolical though. Like he's like, once he's on Hulk's team, he becomes like he's like, oh yeah, let's make everybody pay for what they've done to us, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, like,
is he really?
Who were you before this? You were just some weak insect. But I have a question though. So Korg references the name Doug a lot, and I know it's of his dead friend, but do you think Doug was a character?
I don't know.
They just used a random name.
Yeah, it was just a funny thing to say.
Doug. I'm just wondering if there was is there a character at all? What, Adam? No. Adam Warlock? Doug? No.
Don't look too hard into it.
Well, this movie is filled with Easter eggs.
Yeah, and Korg says all kinds of random shit.
Yeah.
Piss off Ghost being one of the funniest things you could ever say.
You think we could do without Korg in this movie?
God, no.
What?
He was brilliant.
What?
He was a brilliant character. Okay, all right. Because
literally there for comic relief.
No, well, yeah, definitely. But he has that line where he's Thor and him are having a back and forth about his hammer. The hammer used to pull you off, and he's like, sounds to me like losing this hammer. It sounds to me like you had a very special relationship with this hammer, and that losing it is akin to losing a loved one. Like, that's a necessary thing to have to say within the screenplay, because you're not giving the characters or the audience a time to really let all the tragedy that this movie has heaped upon you sink in yet. So a character like Korg, really hammering out Thor's emotional state, even though he is the comic relief character, it goes a long way, because up until this point, he's lost his father, lost his hammer, and has been enslaved. Like, he's having a shit day, but it's, up until this point, been hilarious to watch. But
that's an interesting point.
Through Korg, get to understand that, he's lost a major part of his identity.
Okay.
So Korg is brilliant. Everything that comes out of his mouth is solid gold. You didn't like him?
I guess the kind of humor that he brings to the table is just kind of
how different is he from the comic book?
He like Hulk, like, lost a lot of his family. I think okay, so
was he a revolutionary in the comic book as well?
Well, yeah, he was basically like Hulk, but like the Thing. Like, to say that another way, like, he's a super strong character who's, fighting out of his own enslavement due to something that happened in his race, but like, without Hulk there, he would have never he wasn't, there was no comedy out of that character at all. In fact, on Planet Hulk, damn, I'm really taking control of this podcast with that one section of comic books of MCU that I read. I'm so glad.
You're really proud of yourself for this,
yeah. What happens is, like, the Red King somehow revitalizes, like, a lot of the Cronin race, like, in the battle. Like, so basically what happens is, like, in the comic book, Thor and that whole team of Warbound, like, they fight as a team. So, like, him, Korg, Meek and all and whatnot, like, so they fight other teams of bad guys and whatnot. And one time they had to fight a team of Cronin, and one of them was Korg's brother. So he had to kill his brother again, because it's either kill him or be killed by him. It was ridiculous, but they're just a pile of rocks. And like I said earlier in the comics, like, a lot of them were killed by Beta Ray Bill and Thor.
Oh, wowzer! All right. I'll take it. So what do we got? All right. So Hulk turns back into Banner upon seeing a message from Black Widow, and now the goal is to escape from Sakaar, to stop Hela by going through the Devil's Anus and recruiting Valkyrie.
You skipped a little bit. I feel like did we go over the part where what's her name? First of all, Odin keeps all the dead bodies in the basement.
Oh, yeah. Let's hop to Asgard for a bit. Yeah, no, Odin's just a terrible dad, and now it's revealed that he's a bad person too. Well, okay, maybe he definitely made the right decision to imprison Hela forever, scrape her name from the history books, and paint over the roof so that nobody can see, but maybe keeping a vault of dead Asgardian soldiers buried underneath your flat Earth. So I don't know how they just don't fall through the bottom, because she fell for like a super long way.
Yeah.
In order to get to her
but
pet
like
dog.
right next to where the Eternal Flame is. Like, I mean, if it is what they say it is, it's just like, I mean, is this going to be an army of like good dead soldiers or bad dead soldiers?
Oh no, you're really asking for it. Putting Surtur's crown next to the Eternal Flame is probably not a good move either, but you did it.
Right. Well, and then like, what's her name has the line where she's just like, Fenris, what'd they do to you? It's like, what do you mean what'd they do to you? Like, that's a buried wolf. Like, it's dead. Like,
they let him wither away. They didn't feed him. They didn't water him.
Is that what happened? I thought they're all just dead in there. So everybody there, they didn't feed and water.
Essentially, yeah.
I'm not sure sometimes like what they're saying in this movie. Like, whoa.
And it's a good way to have canon fodderable people that you don't feel bad about murdering. I mean, zombies and robots are always the go-to for canon fodder. You know?
You know what we did? We also we skipped past our Stan Lee cameo because we're talking about what's his name in the ring, and when he was in the ring, he had short hair, and before he got short hair, he got his hair cut by this dude with a crazy set of buzz clippers. Stan effing Lee
himself.
Also,
yeah, so for keeping track, that's his fucking hammer.
Did Hulk?
His dad, his hair.
He lost his hair, and later an eye. But before that, did Hulk look like he had a haircut too? Do you think Stan Lee cut his hair?
I don't think Stan Lee got to it, but as some touch of gray definitely made it to the sideburns.
Definitely looks different in this movie.
Yo, the CGI model for the Hulk is the best it's ever been, at least in the face. I thought he was like a little squat in the shoulders. Like he was really boxy. When he was in his room, like walking around in the hot tub scene, like he's like square as opposed to his dimensions look off. Like when he's standing in the ship at the end of the movie next to everybody, he looks proportional. But when he was just pacing back and forth, Hulk bad or Thor bad friend, that back and forth they were having, his head to shoulder to chest ratio looked all kinds of weird.
Yeah,
but
he's not supposed to look
face
like
models. You can tell that was
Ruffalo.
What is that? Yeah, Mark Ruffalo in there. It was really cool. This is the first time that Hulk wasn't voiced by Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the Hulk proportions. He's not supposed to look like a Space Jam character. He's supposed.
He did look like a monster. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
I mean, from what I know, his head. I mean, it grows, but his head is not proportional to any part of his body. He has like giant tries, forearm, chest, and leg. Like if he has a tiny head, and everything else is just massive and square shaped. He's not like a suit. He's not Shaq, but like a little bit taller. Like he's definitely E Honda from Street Fighter.
That's good as well. So I expected you to have with all these taller CGI characters, I expected you to have a problem with the head and people talking to each other and looking in the direction that they're supposed to, where their head is tilted. Were you okay every time Thor talked to the Hulk?
It seemed fine.
And to Korg and to Fenris, I guess, the dog.
I honestly didn't know. I mean, you know what I did notice? I feel like it's literally since you and I talked about how easy it is to see CG, like with bad backgrounds and whatnot. If you just stare at Thor, like while he's bound up in chain, like you just see the outline. It's like even with millions and millions of dollars of technology, it's 100%. Like we know, I get it. They're not in hell. I get it. And hell looks great. Don't get me wrong, but it depends where you're looking. Like if you're looking at the background, beautiful. You're looking at Thor, okay. But if you're looking at the outline, it's clear cut that it's a cut and paste of this guy in a green screen. And I'm just like, I literally have to go, okay, and look away. Otherwise, since like I think Guardians 2, I was noticing it. I was just like, God, you shattered the glass for me, Trey. I literally didn't notice before. I knew it was fake, but I couldn't see it, and now I can see it on my 32-inch screen.
But I'm not really. I'm not really the one who harps. I really only notice when people are trying to walk into the foreground, and you can just tell that because they're not at an actual physical location. There's only so many places they can go.
Well, there's a lot of Hela doing that in this movie.
Yeah, all the throne room sequences. She doesn't. In fact, this is probably just because I watched it 5 times, but there's a scene where Hela is sitting on her throne. She's monologuing to Scourge about executioner status. Like, I was Odin's executioner. And she gets out of her chair, and they do a wide shot of how far away her fucking iron chair is, Game of Thrones style, from where Scourge is standing. And she gets up and she walks down to him, makes him an axe and hands it to him. And they cut back to a tight shot, and the chair, Scourge and Hela are in the same shot. And I'm like, nope, not possible. Not possible.
Oh.
That chair is a fucking mile away, all the way behind you.
Dude, see, you and me are noticing similar but different things. There's like, okay, so Heimdall, near like the end fight scene, he takes out, like, on the Bifrost, he takes off his cloak, and he's about to fight Fenris. And then Loki shows up, and his cloak is back on. And then, like, and then like Loki like walks on the Bifrost, cloak's gone. It's just like, come on, you guys, come on.
That's a continuity editor that has to catch that. I mean, those are things that you're going to notice on multiple repeats. Like, a lot of shit was done on the Rainbow Bridge that shouldn't have taken place. It completely undercuts Heimdall's power of, oh shit, there's a wolf in front of me. Oh shit, there's zombies behind me. Why am I the worst all-seer of all time? But I do like Idris Elba's look in this one with the dreads.
They've cut us off on the bridge. Do you think they're behind us? I don't know. Let's go look.
Right? How are you? How are you the all-seer?
How are you a superpower?
But even then, fuck. Let's cut right to the Rainbow Bridge sequence. Is there anything else you want to mention? Hulk battle, bathtubs, escape from Sakaar through the asshole of the devil.
Well, hold on. Like, up until then, I think we mentioned earlier where Thor throws a giant, like, heavy ball against the glass.
Yeah,
hits him in the back of the head.
More you want to say about that?
Okay, like, there is something I want to say. If you throw something like that at glass and it doesn't just bounce right back, okay, well, it did bounce right back, but it also broke the glass. You can't have both happen.
Why not?
No, you can't. It broke the glass. Like, the glass took the brunt of the force, and then the energy, their inertia, went forward, and then the ball came back.
MC squared.
I don't know about that one.
It came back with enough force to make him get up with, like, a jab punch in the air, like, I'm okay.
With the exact same direction, too. It didn't, like, go up, down, like, it just bounced right back. Like, yeah, okay, if what I threw it against didn't break at all, then yes, fine. Come with, by all means, come back with full force. But not if it broke.
Yeah, I mean, some jokes land, some jokes don't.
Well, the Point Break.
They brought Black Widow back for it, though. And we got a little cameo.
The strongest Avenger?
Sun's getting real low.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I was talking about before that when he's trying to get on the ship. I was trying to catch up to where we are is what happened. And so when he's trying to get on the Quinjet, he's strongest Avenger. God of Thunder. Damn you, Stark.
It was Point Break the whole time.
That was hilarious.
I thought that they used the Hulk as much as they should. Like, I was on the verge of being tired of him not being helpful. So they switched him into Bruce Banner at the perfect time, but only to find that Bruce Banner wasn't that much help either. I mean, it's nice to have him fly a ship and
he's totally a handicap.
Come up with the calculations for what you need to get through the devil's anus, but otherwise he was experiencing some PTSD there. And it was cool to see the dynamic to see what Bruce Banner thinks of the Hulk.
They actually, I'm sorry, they did their homework in this movie, man. Well, the stuff that like Bruce Banner was saying about the devil's anus is actually scientifically correct. Like I've seen.
Shut up. What do you know about fucking
I know what I saw on YouTube.
collapsing
Okay.
neutron stars?
No, it's actually based off someone's like theory. I saw the whole diagram and everything of what like the anus looks like, about how it takes you, like you're in like one part of the galaxy and you go through this tiny little wormhole and it takes you to the other part. The symmetry around it. Look, I saw it and it made sense. And therefore, someone did their homework. All right, that's all I got.
Sure. Yeah, even the transitionary sequence of Valkyrie and Thor fighting outside of the ships. Like, I thought that was an amazing shot where Valkyrie gets her ship blown up. She's flying through the air and lands on the windshield of It's My Birthday of Grandmaster's party ship. Mm-hmm. Again, just great action sequences throughout the entire film.
He uses this for what, orgies?
and because I knew that line was coming, I looked at all the things Bruce Banner was touching. Like, so they propel him through the ship, and like because the ship is jarring around, like he's all face planted on the ground and sliding off the other side of the thing, and then drags himself up and fucking plants his cheek to like the back of Thor's chair. His hands are on everything. Like it was just great jokes, great writing all around. It was brilliant. Yeah, so we're on the Rainbow Bridge.
Well, again, we see Bruce Banner just 100% believing in the fact that he can just fall out of a plane and go Hulk.
Yeah, and in the Incredible Hulk, they at least have the decency to hide the transformation by him being inside of concrete under the earth. But no, he just splatted and died against the bridge, and they didn't even bother showing the transition. He just caught the wolf's toe and threw him backwards.
I thought he had control.
Another step too far for
plus,
me. But
you know what I don't like is I know Bruce Banner's the smartest character in the MCU, but I don't like his rant. No one knows Hulk like him, but how many experiments has he done on Hulk since he's the transformation? I'm guessing not a lot. I'm guessing he's tried. Don't get me wrong, but in the MCU, I don't know how much he's tried. And to him to come up with the assumption of, well, it seems like I couldn't get out this whole time. Like I've had one hand on the wheel this whole time. He goes, I think that if this happens again, I'll never come back out. And it's just like, all right, well, you just think that. Maybe Hulk is as far as I know, Hulk is smart enough to know, hey, stupid, you were both half and half. I am strong for this planet. You, my friend, will fucking perish. So let's go ahead and leave me in charge for the rest of the time here. How does that sound? It doesn't sound like anything because I'm already Hulk. And I'm in charge. Like, it's subconsciously, it's like, I assume he just gave in. I would.
Yeah, but it implies a rationale for the Hulk that I mean, like, even though he was talking, he was very limited in what he could say. But he did definitely have a sense of humor. He totally goaded Thor into walking into that electric fence. A lot of things shock Thor in this movie. And I mean, like, physically shock him into unconsciousness. Yeah. But
well, you know what I'm saying?
Thor go again. Yeah,
you know what?
Like that was a trick. I think Hulk was capable of that. But go on.
You know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing a lot of maybe you can help me put this in better words, but there's a lot of characters with daddy issues, or just a lot of the superheroes just have the daddy issue. Iron Man, this one literally. Do you remember how often Black Panther wanted to go see his dad or T'Challa?
Yeah, dead parents are a staple of superhero movies. You're just gonna have Marthas everywhere.
How many times did he have to go back and see Odin? He's just like, "Are you the god of hammers? Like you this whole time you thought the hammer helped you control thunder, so you're not the god of it at all. Like you need the hammer to do all this."
It was a conduit for his energy, and you could tell that at least his ego. A relic. The boots of Kobe. Yeah, you could tell at least his ego was wrapped up in his ability to use the hammer. And yeah, he even tells Korg that he dearly misses his hammer. So yeah, like it was acting as a hindrance for him actualizing his actual godhood, capital G. But
Well, okay.
it took an ass whooping for him to go into full Raiden mode.
Even full Raiden mode with one eye, there's no capital G. If Ego refers to himself as a lowercase, unless he was just being modest in the GOTG
on
too.
The days I'm feeling modest.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's a small G, yeah, lowercase G. So if that planet is a lowercase G,
call him Lord of Thunder.
Oh yeah, well, didn't you say wasn't there in Spider-Man there was a lot of fun? There's a lot of bits of making fun of the character's name, and it seemed like they played off that in this movie a lot too. Just God of Thunder, Lord of Thunder, it's all the same.
Yeah, Marvel is just learning from all their mistakes and building upon all the things that work. It's why the last two movies have, in my opinion, been some of the best movies.
Which
Black Panther and
I thought you meant as far as this goes, because I was thinking Guardians, and I was like, yeah, I I concur, but Spider-Man came out before this, and
yeah,
I don't
not
think
so much
that's
that.
the same. Yeah, but in this movie, though, damn it, if Thor just didn't improve himself by at least tenfold as an Avenger, right?
Bringing Zeppelin,
that last fight scene with Hela, like, I know again the women are just super overpowered, and not one person that I know besides Odin can take this bitch out. I guess Surtur with the Eternal Flame, but damn it, dude, it was like he's so powerful. Remember he did that weird M. Bison move from Street Fighter 2 where he did that?
A Psycho Crusher. Yep, totally.
That was awesome.
Totally spun at him. Yeah, and I like that they had to, because even with all that power, they still had to call on Surtur at the end. So that was a good subversion of the third act expectations. And I really like that Loki gets a redemption story. I really like that it took this movie, oddly, instead of Thor 2, to allow Loki to be something other than an asshole, But he gets to show up and save the day. You guys look like you're in desperate need of leadership. So it was nice to see Loki get some respect in this world.
Well, now it's about time that we start to get into what's it called? Our conspiracies. Because I don't know about this whole Loki, gets some of the good light. Now he's a good guy. Because it seemed like as he was walking to the Eternal Flame, he made, like, first of all, I saw him a couple movies ago. He really wanted the Casket of 1,000 Shadows or whatever, or Winters or whatever it's called. He was super eyeballing the Tesseract. And it might make sense that, okay, are we at the end scene yet? Can we go to that giant ship?
Yeah, let's start to wrap this shit up.
The giant ship, which is overtly Thanos. I don't know if this is some kind of resemblance of, now Odin's gone, so like what's his name? Thanos thinks he has nobody to challenge him, or maybe Loki called him. He was kind of working. Was he not working for Thanos before?
Oh, you think that that it's no coincidence that ship showed up when it did?
Correct. It's also
I mean, yeah, he did know the what was the guy's name that got his head turned around by Ronan? Not preacher. Fuck, what is his name? Whatever. Yeah, the underling. But yeah, Loki was in direct contact with him. So by extension, he knows, Thanos. But I don't think Loki would call Thanos to come destroy the rest of Asgard. That's a bad move. Plus, we're not really meant to understand that is Thanos' ship. The internet and all of geek culture has inferred that. I mean, it's sort of an obvious thing to look to, but yeah, that as an end credit sequence that is left vague.
Extremely vague. Yeah, I barely saw it on screen. Because well, okay, like it's clear that there's something there, but to me they look like they were the same color. Or I couldn't.
Oh, the ship! Like you couldn't tell the ship was that big.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah. I thought they just zoomed in on the ship they were on, and I was like, "What are we looking at?"
What are we looking at?
I mean, and this is why I like when the movies come out on Blu-ray and whatnot. I can watch them over and over again, is because I'm stupid, man. It takes me like 5 tries to get anything right. So once I watched it over and over again, I realized that Loki and Thor are staring at the sun, while they're in that ship, and this thing covers the sun for how I don't know.
Dwarfs.
Yeah, totally dwarfs it. Oh, it dwarfs the ship, and it's just like holy shit. Like, they're just like, what is this thing? What looks like doesn't even see their ship. The ship that's harboring an entire planet, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if Thanos sees that ship, if that's his ship, which it has to be, but I don't think that they see them.
No.
There's another end credit scene, the Grandmaster, where he's trying to reclaim. What is he trying to? He's trying to get his prisoners to think that it's all a game, and
it's just Goldblum being Goldblum. He's just trying to get out of being killed. Oh, I don't think he can be killed. He's an elder, you know?
Well, okay, yeah, I don't know much about the character, which I thought was weird that they called that one character that he killed was his cousin. Because you're telling me the Collector is his brother.
No, he said cousin as like a bro.
No,
or
they
what
said
up,
we
dude.
have your cousin.
Oh, really?
That was the line.
Okay.
And yeah, he would.
Okay.
I guess he was just gambling. He got some debt, something like that.
Sure. Sure.
And he absolved him from life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, any other excuse you have to put Jeff Goldblum in a thing. Yeah, it is meant to show you he's still alive, I guess. I don't know.
Well, but without wrapping it up too much, let's go. The best part of the movie was the end scene. I think we kind of forgot to go into it a little bit. So
yeah, this podcast ran long. Is there anything you want to talk about with that end fight?
Thor tells Loki to put the crown of Surtur in the eternal flame, and he's like, "That's a bold move, even for me." And then he just comes out as this 300-foot character that's as large as a mountain, he would say earlier in the film, and then leaving what's her name to fend for her own planet or her power, I suppose, Hela. And she's coming in strong. She throws a giant sword that comes from the planet to stop the ship from leaving, and then she goes and tries to fight Surtur, throwing all kinds of giant swords in his chest. And Homeboy doesn't give a rat's ass.
Nothing works.
This is one reason I love this movie so much, is because they're going out of the realm of the planet Earth. You won't see a character like Surtur show up on Earth. I mean, you might see in the future like Galactus, and I mean, not like Fantastic Four did it, but actual Galactus, and that would be insane. But that's going to be few and far between, or it's going to take too long to get there. And it's not the whole world, like the realm that they were in was fucking awesome, and you can't see that on Earth because it's populated by a bunch of people, and 1 out of every 7 million people is a superhero. So and
this is kind of what I meant with the Superman analogy that I said earlier. I phrased it like I wanted him to go up against bigger people, but really, I mean, there's no real Asgardian comparison for Superman, but he needs to be in a place like this where the stakes are higher, because Surtur is just Asgard's reckoning, just swinging a giant sword, taking out mountains, setting things on fire. Yeah. You got to put Superman up against something like that. But yeah, it's absolutely incredible how things were realized in this world. Cosmic Marvel is so awesome.
Exactly, yeah. And other than Jane Foster being on Earth, there's kind of no reason for Thor to be there. So, I mean, he could just be protecting other realms, like I feel like he should be going on adventures like Silver Surfer. Like, he should just find himself on other planets. I don't know why exactly, but to beat up some bad guy, whatever. Flesh it out. My point is, there's no reason besides Jane Foster. And since what happened? She lost her contract, she got fired, something like that? Like Natalie Portman, like she's not going to be in any other movies, right?
No, she just decided no, no more. And honestly, it would have been a good, or rather, it looked like a good decision before Taika Waititi hopped on. I mean, Anthony Hopkins said no until he read the script and said, I'll give it a shot. I'm not leaving my apartment. You're gonna have to film all my scenes in my pajamas.
Okay, we'll just bring in the green screen.
Yeah.
But, okay, so we're wrapping this movie up. Trey, I fucking love this movie. I don't know if it's... I know I have a bunch of things to pick apart, and if they had me on the team, I'd have a better editor. But outside of that, I like this movie so much. It's hard to chalk it up as far as where it stands in the MCU. I think this is the 17th movie. I know it's written down on iTunes how many episodes we've done. I think Guardians 2 might have been the 15th. So yeah, this movie is stellar, dude. It's phenomenal. It's awesome. It's hard to say if it's the best movie in Phase 3, because Phase 3, they're just getting too good. Phase 3 is killing it, man. Guardians 2, Civil War, and this movie. I would say Ragnarok probably in the top 5 of the MCU movies that are out up to date.
Yeah, they're really learning from all their missteps, you know? And I'm not sure if it's recency bias that's making me want to call this one of the best movies that Marvel has made, but it sure as hell was fun, you know? This is a blast to watch repeatedly, you know? So and I think Black Panther is just as good, but for different reasons. So, I mean, you know, 18 movies in, and they're just getting better at what they do. So I just don't see this stopping anytime soon. You know,
yeah.
This is a freight train that has picked up speed.
I rented this movie this time, but I totally made the mistake. I love this movie. I really should own it. I will own it at some point. Not going to say that same thing for all the other movies though. I liked all of the movies in their own way, and we can listen to all the podcasts to find out who, what, when, where, and why. But as far as owning a Blu-ray, like hard copy, a legit copy that I paid cash for, or just, you know, Spider-Man, I ended up renting an app, or I got a free trial or for Stars or something like that. But yeah, I didn't really want to own that. I really want to own this movie. I wouldn't mind watching it right now, even though it's almost bedtime.
I don't have the capability to play a DVD. I just found out.
What?
So,
like,
well, I didn't know until I needed it. And I'm like, oh, I can't actually physically play DVDs in my home.
Yeah, you know, this awesome computer I have doesn't have a disc tray. I actually have an external disc drive for that. And I was like, this is a gaming computer.
And there's an app for everything. We're good.
But yeah, what are your final thoughts, Trey?
I mean, that was it. I definitely like this movie. I think it's one of their best. But I'm trying to have a little bit more reservations because it came out last year. And even though it is fun, I want to say that recency bias is making me like it more than I should. Some of the jokes do horribly detract from any kind of seriousness that you might have been going for. But, I mean, imagine this movie without any of the jokes. And it's a bleak slog. Awful things happen to Thor throughout the entire film. So, yeah, levity was necessary, and the fact that they managed to change Thor in a way that makes him compatible with seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy for Infinity War, which I think is the most important thing that they did, because it would have been a drastic tonal shift to see the Thor from Thor 2 or Thor 1 meet the Guardians of the Galaxy. But now that you've told this story, you can easily see, a Rocket Raccoon and a Drax in this movie, Mm-hmm. So yeah, they've done amazing work here.
So all next we have
give them the links. Let's wrap this shit up.
You can find us over at Infinity Warmup at Twitter. That's our Infinity Warmup at Gmail. You can find us, I believe, Infinity Warmup on our Facebook page, or you can find all that information by going to Brillvision, Twitter, Facebook. That all this information is going to be connected. We're going to have the Infinity Warmup on it's on iTunes. You know what? I just submitted it to iHeartRadio, and a spoiler.
Did you really?
Well, it was an option, so I didn't venture out for it. It was an option given me from my RSS feed.
It's so easy.
I know. It's going to be great. But I also just got an email today. A spoiler alert for the future is this could be on Spotify soon.
Oh, what?
That's big business right there, baby.
Wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, well, anybody out there listening, just use one of those things that he said to tell us that we suck.
Tell us we suck. Tell us what else you want to hear, because at this point, we're caught up. And I know Black Panther exists, and it's not on DVD, and I guess it's in theaters, but I'm not about to do that dance. I'm going to edit and put this shit up. But no, I want to go back and do some of these retro Marvel movies. We have
we'll talk. We'll talk.
I was about to give him the next one right now. The next one is Black Panther. We ain't doing that one. So, I in my DVD collection, I have Deadpool and I have Logan. Any one of those you want to go over next?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with having fun, and we'll go with Deadpool. But
Baby, the next podcast is gonna be awesome.
I mean, let's take it back. I'm pretty sure if you got Netflix, that we could find like a Rise of the Silver Surfer and just really immerse ourselves in some suck.
You want okay? All right. Well, all right. So we'll talk about it. We'll post about it. We'll let you guys know. But please go on our social media links. Share with your friends. Share with your family. Make them watch, like, subscribe. And we need this to venture out. We need some help.
All this cyber panhandling.
We need some feedback
for
here.
Thumbs ups and fucking subscribes and likes. Do the thing.
You just like dab them in his blood. Threw them on the table.
Yeah, look what you did.
Where they at? Let's get ready.
Yeah, no, I believe there was an 80-foot dog in the room.